Hello and welcome to another episode of Diplomats. I'm CaptainMeme. I'm here once again with Ezio. Hi Ezio.
Hello, hello.
And this is Ezio's first time ever seeing the map that we're about to be commentating. This is 1862 World Diplomacy. And Ezio, you know nothing about this map, right?
I know that it's a world diplomacy variant that was made by Stitches.
Yes. Okay, you do know a couple of things about it. You don't know the rules and such like, so you will be learning it in real time alongside all of our viewers, or at least the ones who haven't played this variant. So this was indeed made by Stitches. You might recognize him as Superstition. He's been on Media Wars. He was playing in Media Wars 4, and he does the Diplomats Podcast with Ed Sullivan. I'll link that in the description below. I'll also link the Discord server to this variant in the description below. This is a really cool variant for a couple of reasons. This variant is a lot of variants stitched together. This variant itself consists of, I believe, 5 different boards. So this East Asia board is all one board that you can play on separately. The Africa board is a 4-player game that you can play separately. The Europe board is again a separate board that you can play separately. Same for the South America and same for the North America. It's divvied up into segments. Let me just find that one. Oops. Here we go. So these are which segment is part of which board. So here you can see all of the green territories are in the South America board. The slightly lighter blue territories are also in the South America board, but they're also on the North America board if you play that individually, right? The Europe board contains the red territories and the orange ones, and if you go to the Discord, you can find out what non-supply centers count for each one as well. Yellow is Africa, yellow and orange is Africa, and then purple is its own separate board as well. So, that is just quite a cool concept by itself, right? It's something that I've thought of a little bit before. It would be kind of cool if there were actual expansions to diplomacy that you could just plug onto the standard diplomacy map and make it bigger. I think that happens with stuff like Western empires.
Yeah, because when I play diplomacy, my problem is that I have too many people trying to play diplomacy with me, and I can't fit them all on the same board. So I'd love to slap on an extra one to get more of my friends to play it at the same time.
Okay, yes, it would be impossible to play in real life because you would never get enough people around. But think about if you did. It would be so awesome, right?
It would be so cool. And the concept is great. And for online play, it's really neat. And it means that all of the boards are theoretically going to be balanced in their own right if they were designed with each board being fair. And then you just slap them together into a world variant and you see how it goes. That sounds really cool.
Yep. And some of these powers, when you slap them together, like, the powers have position on multiple boards. So they're colonial powers like in Imperial Diplomacy, for example. You've got Britain here, which has territories in Africa, it has territories in India, it has territory in Australia, it has a slight amount of territory on the South America board, although I believe these become neutral if you're playing the South America board alone, otherwise the the British player would have quite a hard time competing there, I think. And then you have more in Canada, for example. And you have a few other colonial powers. I believe Spain is colonial. They have the Caribbean. They also have a little area in Africa and the Philippines. There are a couple of other colonials as well. Russia has territory in North America. And I think Italy also has territory somewhere. Okay, never mind. I don't see any other Italian territories. France, of course, has territory in Africa, and also in America? I believe this is French. So, yeah, that's where we're at with the colonials. You have players that play across multiple boards. In the world variant, where you stitch these together, the official rules say that you have multiple players playing as each colonial power. So it's kind of similar to the way we played Imperial Blitz Diplomacy, where we divided up the different territories so that Ezio was in charge of, for example, North and South America, and I was in charge of this area. It's very similar in this variant. You have the main player, like the monarch of each country, playing as the Europe and Africa boards, and the general of each country playing as the other boards. Notably, the player in Europe and Africa has the final say on where the builds go, which I'm told was actually quite relevant in this game, but we're not going to be checking the press. So unfortunately we won't see exactly where that's relevant. I just find the idea very funny that some teams were maybe not coordinated enough that that one of the players had to say, okay, I'm taking these builds.
Or I'm giving you these builds and I don't care.
Very possible.
Although then the other person could just wave, presumably? Or no, right? Because if one person is doing it, they can just mandate that units go down on the board elsewhere.
Yes, yeah.
That's neat.
For colonials, though, it doesn't actually matter early on, because one of the other rules of this variant is one that Ezio will be familiar with from Hellenic diplomacy, which is the concept of controlled territory. And I believe this was the variant that actually invented that concept. So rather than coring in this variant, you do have some HSCs, they're marked with white stars, right? But you can also build in any territory where you own every land territory around that. So, for example, if... let me just see if I can find something that makes sense on that front. For example, if you...
MER push the queen one? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, if you had this territory here, you would be able to build on it if you managed to take Oxa and take GMC. So every territory around it becomes your color, right?
Or also BHO.
And BHO.
Right?
Sorry, I missed that one.
And then you need to keep everything you already have, because you've already got TAM, MEX, CHP, and MER.
Yes, this would be quite an awkward one to manage, I think, because colouring and all that is kind of difficult. In order to colour in a non-supply centre, you have to just walk onto it on any turn. In order to colour in a supply centre, you have to actually take that supply centre, so you have to be standing there in the full turn.
And the oceans don't matter.
Yes, the ocean territories don't matter at all, which means that if there are any islands, they would be insta-cored, but I guess there aren't. This isn't exactly an island, because there is a a border here with another land territory. So that's, if you see this kind of odd colour of border here, oh, actually this one would count as one. This gets insta-cored, I think, because there's no land border next to it, right? But if you see this border around it, it means that's a land territory. Land territories, you can stand armies on provinces like this, but they have to be convoyed off, right? So you can't just walk from here to here. Despite them both being land.
They're both land provinces that hold armies, but you cannot walk from one to the other, but they still get in the way of building?
Yes, they get in the way of building. So you, in order to core a province in that way, you have to own all the land territories adjacent to it. So the land territories are defined as the ones with these borders around them, right? As well as any that are obviously on the land.
But a fleet can just move back and forth smoothly, no problems.
Yes, yeah. It's basically, when we first saw Imperial, this was how I thought islands were going to work, right? Was that if you had an army stood on an island, it would have to be convoyed off, even if it's adjacent to another land province, because there's no obvious connection there, right? And in Imperial, it doesn't work that way. You can actually just walk from here to here, for example. Yeah. But in this variant, no, there has to be an actual connection that you can see on the land. So you can see, in some cases, there are, right? These little arrows mark them. And in that case, the army can walk there. But most of the time, here, you would need a convoy to get off there. So probably don't build an army here.
Yeah, probably not. Can you go back to the Bahamas for me for a quick sec?
Yeah, sure thing.
Because, so what this is saying is that an army can go from BHA or BAH into Cuba or SDO, but it can't go from BAH into Florida Keys.
Yeah, exactly. It's only where the pink arrows are, or where there's a visible connection on the land.
Okay. I mean, sure. I guess that's how it works. I guarantee you at some point I would try to walk an army from BAH into KEY.
Yeah, at some point it's just about what you're used to, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So I think that's almost brings me to the conclusion of the rules roundup. I apologize that this rules roundup is going to be... actually, we're doing pretty well on time right now.
We're right on pace. It helps that we've already seen the coring mechanics from the Helidip.
Absolutely. So other things, you may notice these little brown armies. They are just neutral armies. This is not a power. They will just stand here until someone dislodges them, at which point they will disband. They don't need a supply center to maintain them. They are just neutral units. So these are kind of common in diplomacy variants, although I don't think we've actually covered a variant on the channel before that has them. So, yeah.
I don't think so. I also note that it's unusual for them to exist outside of supply centers.
Yes. So the exact reasoning that Stitches gave for why he put them on the map was that he basically wanted impassable-ish territories, right? So areas that it's really difficult for a person to move through, mostly on borders between areas he didn't really want to be immediately interacting with each other, right? Like this. But he doesn't like stalemate lines, so he didn't put impassable provinces in, he just made it very difficult to move through there early on, which I think, yeah, that works, right? If you want to address that
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, so neutral units, that's that. You will also see a couple of units start in places without supply centers. These are all maintained. You'll note that there are also supply centers that start without a unit. And looking at this, I would not like to be England, having to try and negotiate to keep this province, right? With no units starting there. Yeah. But, like, and then this one, I guess you just go here or something. You gotta negotiate your way into there. It feels like the Colonials have a little bit of a rough time in the first year. I mean, look, also Vancouver is empty for the Brits.
I mean, we've been playing too much Imp-Tip, and so you've been incredibly spoiled with how absurd the Colonials have it, how absurdly easy the Colonials have it.
Yes.
Whereas, yeah.
Here, it's a little more rough. Okay, so there's one more thing I need to talk about rules-wise, and that is the win condition of this variant. And this is where it gets really interesting and very different from basically every other variant. So, you know, I said this board is split into 5, right? There are 5 different boards that come together to make up this one. So you've got the Far East, you've got Africa, Europe, South America, and North America. Your objective in this variant is to be the first person to reach 15 supply centers on any one board. So, if you reach 15 supply centers in the Far East, that's it, you've won. But the game doesn't stop when someone wins. When someone wins through doing that, the board that they won on is kind of deleted. Every unit on it turns into a neutral unit, and every supply center on it reverts to being neutral. And the player who won all of their units and supply centers all over all of the boards change to being neutral units. It's called getting blacked out, or it's called a blackout under the rules. That player essentially becomes first place if they're the first person to do that, and the game continues. Just without them there, and with the entirety of that board not exactly out of play, right? Because those centers are still there. You can go in if you need to get builds, and you're willing to fight all the neutral units that are standing there. But it's sort of out of play because there's, like, everyone who was there is kind of wiped, right? And then you can go for second place by being the person to get the second board to 15 supply centers, right? So if you get, for example, if someone's already blacked out the Far East, and then you get to 15 supply centers in Africa, then Africa blacks out as well, and you piece out of the game, right? And then everyone that's left is playing for third place, and so on and so forth. This is really different to standard diplomacy.
Yeah.
I'm very curious as to your thoughts on it.
I need a bit of time to process that.
Mm-hmm.
How many different powers are there in this game?
There are 18. Oh, also, sorry, I forgot to mention this. Only 2 colonials are allowed to win, total. So as soon as the second colonial wins, all of the colonials get blacked out across all boards, and essentially die. So if you're a colonial, you have to play very fast to get onto the winner's table.
Yeah. Interesting. And there are 5 boards, so this game will have 5 winners out of the 15.
Yes. At any point, a board can unanimously declare between everyone on that board that they're drawing, which will give the win to the person who has the most supply centers on that board as well. But that's generally something that only happens when people have sort of decided, I don't really care about playing, like, slogging it out for 5th place or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it gives a way out when people want it.
Yeah, so it feels... It's a very novel concept. I say novel as it's been 5 years, but I don't think I've seen this in any other variants. Or indeed most other games. I'm used to there being a winner and the game ending. Or once someone wins, I'm used to once someone wins, the game ends. And I'm not used to a lot of these games where someone wins and then they're gone and now everyone else keeps fighting. Like, I have seen that before, but it's in, like, Mario Party. Interesting. So, it makes playing for second quite interesting if you end up doing that. Obviously, nobody wants to play for second, but if you are super tightly allied with the player in first in the way that most alliances are, as in you're in the same theater supporting each other into centers and stuff, then you get blacked out, most of your units are done, and you're worthless now. So it means that you need to, like, prop somebody up to let them get to 15 whilst you are not on their board.
Yes, pretty much.
And then they black out in winter even. And so, like, if you have dots that are there, you've lost those dots now. That's brutal.
And also, notably, if they win the game, they black out everywhere, right? So they can't help you get to your win after they've done their win.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you get the stuff that you agreed from them before they win that board. I think in reality what it leads to is a lot less of those kind of agreements where people go, okay, you can win in one place and I'll win in the other. Just because it's not really feasible to do, especially considering the win condition on these are 15 supply centers, right? That's fairly... I mean, it's quite a lot for one specific board, but it's also not going to take a huge amount of time to get there. So it's sort of a race between the different regions to see who can get there first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're a colonial, you can try and boost your efforts in, or I think actually probably the correct play is to focus your effort in one region by building all of the units that you get in that region, right? And using that to just try and run to 15 in that one. But that kind of makes you a minor power in everywhere else that you're going to play. So Yeah, and then if your gamble on the region that you're trying to focus on doesn't work, you have a bit of a problem there. Yeah, it's a super interesting concept. I'm very interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So I mean, I will quickly go through what the powers on the board are, so that we remember what to call them. And for this, I need to bring up my list of powers. I mean, some of them I can tell you off the top of my head. That, for example, is Great Britain. There's France, Spain, Italy. Let me just check. Yep, we have Austria, Prussia, Russia, the Ottomans. Over here we have China and Japan. All of the African powers are colonials, right? So this is England, this is France, this is Ottomans, this is Spain. And then over here we've got the Union and the Confederacy. So this is in the American Civil War. And then if we move to South America feels the most colonial free of the regions. Let me just go ahead and bring up the nations for that. We've got Argentina, we've got Chile, we've got Colombia up here, we have Peru, and we have Brazil over here. So, and then of course some French and English and Spanish around and about, but those are the minor regionals, and that is everything on the board. So, shall we go take a look at the first moves?
Did we talk about Asia at all?
Asia, so we've got China here, and we've got Japan here. And the rest are all colonials, right? You've got Russia, you've got England, France, and Spain.
And Russia is considered a colonial, and the only two colonials can win.
Yes, because Russia is also in this theater up here, right? They actually cross from Europe and then Asia, and they're also in North America.
Sure.
Every colonial only has home centers in Europe. That's going to be a super interesting thing because it means they have to focus on that, controlled area, right? To make sure that they can build in other regions. So here, for example, might be worth Spain just colouring in provinces in the first year so that they make sure they have places they can build here, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Alright. Anything else you want to say before we go ahead and take a look at the moves?
Can you zoom back on the Caribbean for me? Is there a land bridge between Cuba and Jamaica? No.
There is not, no. Okay.
Jeez.
They would have to go there with a fleet.
Yeah.
Is that again something you might order on the first turn and then go,
Oh,
God.
of course. And it's super brutal, because if you look at the opening here for Spain, before we talk about any, the actual moves, right? If you need to take Jamaica with the fleet. So you have to move one of your fleets. Let's say Ezio goes in there. You also want to color in BAH. So you want to send your army there. Then, in the fall, you're going to want to contest Key. I assume Key West, but whatever.
Yeah.
But you're going to have your army in BAH, so it can't support it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a reason why you don't want to send the army to take Bahamas, right, on the first turn. But then again, you could just move your fleet directly into Key on the first turn, right? And there's...
Yeah.
Okay, I guess the Confederacy could come into Florida and salve and attack you with two, so... Yeah.
Yep.
Welp. That's gonna be interesting. There's definitely a lot of tactical, interesting tactical stuff that's gonna happen all over the map. For the purposes of brevity, we probably won't be looking at everything all of the time. So we'll see how it goes. Although the game, because of the way that the win condition works, is actually shorter than you might expect, I think. Alright, shall we go ahead to the spring?
Yeah, let's see some moves.
Okay. So, this is spring 1862. Where do we want to look at first? Shall we go straight to the Caribbean?
Uh-huh.
They did
Alright, well, yeah, they did my initial instinct. But they also got the Confederacy to walk away from Key, so there were no issues, no contest necessary.
Yeah.
And honestly, that bounce in eco looks pretty nice. What do you think ECO is?
That's
Eastern
a really
Coast?
good question.
I don't know.
East Coast. Is it just East Coast?
Yeah, I think East Coast, Eastern Coast, one of the two.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, right. So it certainly looks like the Confederacy wants to kill off the Union as early as possible, or go up towards the Union. Although, is this actually a great opening for that? I would have assumed that you would want to try and take out this fleet in Nor, right? In which case,
Yeah.
I guess that army can't really get there in time to do anything.
Yeah, it seems difficult to deal with that fleet in the opening because the Confederacy has no fleets in the Caribbean Sea.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they just sit in MSS, for example, like, yes, you could move into flow and then give them a guess on covering Nor or not, but they could have gone to flow instead. So you just have guess after guess after guess to take this one center. Meanwhile, you've also got to defend Houston now.
Yeah.
But, like, if you bounce in Mississippi, I assume, then you're not getting anywhere. God, yeah, this is a fun little war. I like this. I'm excited to see how this plays out. I'm just the feelings that I have looking at the opening of this remind me of Helidip a little more than they do of Impdip.
Mm-hmm.
With like, oh yeah, there's tension immediately. People are actually fighting for neutrals, and it's not everyone's just swimming in them all the time. But
yeah,
we'll see.
Actually, I mean, looking at the openings here, I am wondering if this might have all been negotiated. That doesn't look negotiated, right? The fleet going into Mississippi. But I could see the rest of these being Confederacy just going, hey, I take Mem, you take whatever this one is, and then I'll take this one, right, go through here and take, and you can have, I assume that's Washington, D.C., and we'll do a bounce here. And that's all very neat. But then this kind of ruins my my predictions on everything.
Yeah, because these also look quite normal if you're just going to war from the very start. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess my instinct would be to kick out this fleet as early as possible, but I guess you actually probably don't need to, because it's not really threatening much of your stuff, right? It's just Houston. That's kind of it. The fleet can't get inland, and of course the United States can't build there because it's a normal center. It's not a home supply center, so they would need to take MSS and flow in order to do that, and the fleet doing that would take an insane amount of time to get there and back.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And then by the time you're back in flow, you can't. The Confederacy will have retaken MSS.
Yeah.
So no, I mean building in this center is going to be really tough in New Orleans, and so.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay.
I think so. I think it's New Orleans, Mississippi, and then FLO is Florida. That's what I think, but
that makes a lot of sense. My American geography is very bad. Let's just say that much. But yeah. See, my first instinct here is that this is Egypt, which I think is probably a little wrong.
Dude, I have no idea what EGY is. Huh.
Alright, well, tell us in the comments if you know what this province is referring to. There we go, we got some good comment baited.
Yeah, it's to the west of West Virginia. And then he says Richmond, not East Virginia, notably, which is a little tilting.
Oh, well, so in standard diplomacy, right, the dots are quite often named for actual cities, and the non-dots
that makes sense.
are regions. That's not exactly true. In standard diplomacy, it's the home dots that are named after cities, but in variants it often gets generalized to be every dot, so that's what these are, right? They're referring to specific cities, and this one is a region, I assume.
Yeah, alright, that's cool. In which case, man, I have absolutely no clue what EGY is. It's a region?
Well, we can figure
am I
that
going to
out.
embarrass myself? Is there a state?
Is there a city what, sorry?
No, I'm thinking, is there a state? And it's like, I don't think so. I'm pretty confident, guys. What is he? Anyways, alright. Let's move on.
Alright. Right, so if we look around the rest of the area, I mean, I'm not seeing anything incredibly interesting. Oh, this convoy is interesting, because of course, I guess you want to take this dot, but also as England, this is the only way you can protect Vancouver in the first year, right?
Yeah.
With this fleet coming to NWT, and I kind of hate this move right here, looking at it.
It's very questionable.
Yeah, just because this is... Oh, no, wait. Is this part of another province? It's not got a label. I wonder...
Oh, you think that's part of NWT?
It might be. I don't know if that's part of NWT. It might also be part of VIC or PRT.
Portland, Victoria. My guess it would be part of VIC if it were part of one of them, because NWT has that West Coast thing. And if you look at NWT, it's presumably going to have an East Coast somewhere, right?
That's true. I assume it's the North Coast, right?
Or, no, East Coast way over there.
Oh, right. I see.
Sure. So it can't be that's part of NWT West Coast, right? Surely you can't bounce somebody... Because, okay, the way that coasts work in diplomacy, right? If you were moving into NWT West Coast and it was this ocean land over here, someone could bounce that by moving into NWT East Coast on the literal other side of Canada.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
Surely not.
I mean, you can... This could be bounced by Hudson Bay moving to here, right?
Yeah, but you can't... Not in the ocean. Not in the ocean around
I think
NWT,
you're correct,
surely.
Yeah. This feels like it's its own province, and maybe the label's just been forgotten for this turn.
Sure, we'll see.
But yeah.
But if the ocean is an option, right, then this move into NWT West Coast looks brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can only take Vancouver, right?
Yes. I wonder if it's specifically to stop the English convoying into NWT. Because they can do that with Hudson Bay, right? Because Hudson Bay links up on the East Coast. And if you convoy that army into there, then Russia has a little bit of a problem with you threatening their dot here. So...
Yeah, that's true. And then also KOD. Kodiak? I don't know. To Alaska is weird.
Yeah.
I just normally, right, you see fleets go into oceans on the opening. That's kind of a natural thing to see and do. But here we see Russia moving into two land spaces that don't seem particularly great, but maybe they're just very... Oh, God, you have to color them in.
Oh,
no, this is for neutrals. God, we're dumb.
It's because they want to build in these dots. See,
God.
This is what happens when we just talk about like standard diplomacy so much, or variants that we're already very familiar with, is we immediately forget about extra rules that we've just explained.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone who's been watching has been just shouting at us for ages, because holy, of course that's what was happening.
But the thing is, even if you go into NWT here, you then also have to colour this one in, because it is a land province, right?
Sure.
You can see the border around it. I guess, yeah, you could go 1-2, but then where are you getting your dots? You're not picking up Victoria, you're not picking up Vancouver if you're going straight out to there.
Yep. But if I assume Russia's got dots elsewhere, and if they want to make this a priority, they can. I gotta say, I'm a little surprised that they weren't just like going for Honolulu or something with their fleet in Kodiak. I want to see the board a little more, but it's very possible that that fleet didn't like. There was going to be negotiations that would get in the way, but
Yeah.
well, I don't see that. But
So
oh
wraparound
yeah,
boards usually have some kind of small duplication on each side. For this board, they actually duplicate the whole thing, so you can see what's going on across this area quite easily. So when we cover Asia, we can look back at this, I guess. Right, and see if there's
yep.
anything else happening. Although I see someone else going for Honolulu here, right?
Yep, so it makes some sense to just take your dots, get like solidify your position to be able to build. I suspect if we look at Russia elsewhere, we're going to see something similar. Although again, it's Russia, so they have a lot of home supply centers already, I assume.
Yes.
Um,
Well, their home supply centers are solely in Europe, right? It's just these three.
sure,
Um,
but like look at Omsk for example, right? Yeah, I mean Omsk has a
oh,
relatively easy time.
yes.
Yeah,
That's becoming one, and I guess this will be becoming one at some point soon. Yeah, it certainly looks like they're coloring in a fair bit.
yeah. All right, that makes sense.
All right. So if we move south here, we've got Mexico moving into a natural down here, and then I guess moving up to take this LEC with New Mexico, which is, I mean, it looks like it might actually just be natural expansion for them up there. And
Yeah,
notably, all of Mexico's like starting dots and natural dots are in the North American theater, so they are gonna want to focus on getting 15 up here. So they can't really overly focus on the South America area, right? So like projecting power
yeah.
here makes sense.
It's interesting to me that the French chose to go into Osaka. I guess you have a great excuse because hey, I am just coloring in a province. I'm not attacking you. I'm just gonna go for SLP next, and
Hmm.
that's a reasonable pitch, right, for France?
Yeah, I guess so. I was gonna say they can't color in everything around this because they can't go here because Mexico is gonna bounce them out. But I guess actually they're just saying I'll color in everything around Mexico City, right? Is that Mexico
Yeah,
City? I
I think
assume so.
so.
Yeah. Um, and so they'll get this as a core. They're not looking to get this one. Although this move
Yeah,
actually does imply that they want to take this center, because
but if
otherwise
they're
they would
just
presumably go here.
well, if they're just going for GMC, why don't they go through BHO, right? Because
Yeah,
BHO then colors in everything adjacent to that one.
to VR.
It's like some weird negotiation to say, hey, I don't want to be able to build in the one that's further away from you. I just want to build in this one.
Hmm.
I don't get it.
Yeah, well, something we'll probably see more of, like, we'll understand more of as the game goes along and we see who exactly is allied to who from the moves at that point. Uh,
Yeah.
yep, we see Colombia going for Honolulu, I think, and we see Peru. I mean, it looks like they've managed to sort out their border pretty well here, right?
Yeah.
No aggression between the two of them at all. And this is going to take the French center that's here. I believe this actually starts French, so the
Okay.
French must have another unit somewhere that's not on the center. Man,
Yeah. I mean, the start just looks pretty great for Peru and for Colombia.
mm-hmm.
Being able to sort their border out like that is usually really nice.
I don't even think Quito here is going to cause very much tension between them. I assume Peru is going to just take that, right? But there is a one province buffer between those. So that's
Yeah.
not immediately threatening to Colombia anyway. I imagine this will then just go back out and start moving this way. So yeah, really nice start for them. It looks like France is going to be able to nab this province right here, GEO. And the English have just let them do that. There's no... this fleet just moves over to MNE instead of going out to the Atlantic to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess that's again something about needing to be able to build in this theatre, right?
Yeah, that's a clean move that you can do as England. It just takes your spring turn, and now you're going to be able to build in BAL forever, kind of.
Yeah.
HAL, sorry. So that's great. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Alright. And yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about in this region? It looks like Chile and Argentina managed to figure out their stuff as well, because neither is moving aggressively towards the other. England just, like, moving in to contest this area with their fleet.
Yeah, but notably, England is going to lose FAL now?
It's not a
That'd be
supply
my
center.
prediction. Oh, it's not. Oh, so no one cares.
Yeah. It's kind of a throwaway province for England. I would be seriously tempted as England to just try and get this out to like SAO or SPO, negotiate it out, so that I can use it somewhere that's relevant to me, right? Because otherwise this is going to stay on the board and it's going to take up one of your probably much needed builds in other theatres. To just maintain this one useless fleet. Maybe you go to other powers and go, hey, please dislodge and disband it for me, actually.
Yeah, I feel like the dislodge isn't necessarily likely, but being able to have a unit to sell to someone and get it into a more useful place, I completely agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Get that fleet somewhere where it's doing you some good, and if it's not doing you good, it's at least doing someone else some good.
Yeah.
So, hey.
Or doing someone else some bad. That's another another useful thing to do
counts.
sometimes.
As long as if it hurts someone else, that usually helps you.
Yeah. Alright. Let's pan over to Europe here. So we immediately see the Austrian and the Italian working together against France, it looks like, forcing Piedmont. France wasn't even going there in the first place, but wanting to use the support in the first place points towards cooperation between these two. Actually, I guess that's not necessarily against France. They could just be setting up to force Zurich. They probably are, right? But yeah.
Yeah, it's weird to force this neutral between two powers, because you have the initial confrontation with who gets it. But going into Zurich and then into Marseille, that's a reasonable way to split stuff at the start.
That is true, and the fact that France has moved away here. Notably, neutral units work in exactly the same way as a normal holding unit was, so you can actually throw supports onto neutral units, support holds, to buff their defense. The fact that France has moved away from Marseille on this turn means they can't reinforce Zurich to make sure that these two don't take it. If they'd stayed in this area, they could have done that. So, yeah, a very natural continuation, as Ezio was saying there, would be Piedmont support Vienna into Zurich, and then Zurich support Piedmont into Marseille, and then France is like, ah! Oh no! But yeah, we'll see how that works. It looks like the Italian didn't keep their word with everyone either, because this is a failed support into Tunis, which is really curious, actually, because why wouldn't you want to take this?
Well, it looks to me like Italy and Austria are trying to go in on the Ottomans pretty early.
Yeah, so Trieste taking, I guess this is Macedonia, maybe? And Budapest taking Bucharest. It certainly looks like they're surrounding this area, and I guess Ionian can now be supported into Athens.
Yeah.
But I don't know, if you want to go in on the Ottomans, surely you want to take Tunis anyway, because then you can build another unit, come down to Ionian, force Tripoli.
Yeah. Maybe they just didn't trust that the Ottomans would actually support them in. Right, if I have the Ottomans and I'm trying to break up an attack against me, I'm just gonna bounce in Tunis. I'm kind of happy to do that anyways.
Yeah.
And if we look to the east a little bit, we see that Russia bounced with the Ottomans over SCH. And so potentially the Ottomans were just bouncing a whole lot of people, a whole lot of ways.
Right. That does make sense. This could be explained by a lack of trust on the Italian part, just not wanting to bet on the Ottomans doing this.
Yeah, but again, the move into MNR from Austria combined with what looks like coordination against Zurich. I mean, I would expect this to be an Austria-Italy alliance.
Hmm.
But hey, what do I know?
I don't know that this is going to go well for Austria, though, because this is a fleet, right? So this will have to get out into Athens before it can actually do anything to interact with the Ottomans. And
Yeah.
Russia came down to Ukraine. They have Odessa bouncing in SCH right now, but I could absolutely see them going to the Ottomans going, hey, it looks like these guys are quite tight together. How about I just let you take SCH and I support myself into Bucharest, right? And we both get a dot and we start working together to deal with these two. And you actually just get the Juggernaut versus Lepanto situation that happens in standard diplomacy too.
Hooray!
Everyone loves that, right? Man. Yeah. It looks like Russia's gonna get Stockholm here too. You can see that the German fleet, the Prussian fleet, can easily move into Copenhagen here, so they could, if they want to, work out a 1 dot for each here. And no one went for Oslo. The British decided to go into North Sea instead and gun for supply centres that are all going to be covered, and notably, the French go into the English Channel as well, which was something that the English couldn't stop with their starting units, but they must be a little annoyed about. Oh, I'm mistaken, Dublin can go around into Oslo, so they are threatening that dot anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any more thoughts from you on Europe?
No, it looks like a fun theater. Excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's had the most commitment from people on the very first turn, at least the ones we've seen so far. If we pan down into Africa here, looks like a lot of painting and of going for natural supply centres, right? Spain going for this one, France going for this one, and colouring in, and England colouring in, I assume, although I can't imagine France is happy about England colouring that one in if they want to colour in everything around here. Yeah.
Yeah, right. The coloring in makes these neighbors have less space than it might look like.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Back in our ImpDip world, right, we see BZZ versus BTA, and we're like, oh, there's a neutral province between each of them, so I'm sure those countries are going to get along just fine and have no problems. But as we're noticing, if you want to build in BTA, you need to control KAM, KGO, LAG. And then for France, if you want to build in BZZ, you still need to control KAM and KGO.
Yep.
I will say that BTA has so many neutral provinces, I think you're never building there. Especially when WAG is a supply center that you're going to be fighting over. So I think probably as Spain, you just give up BTA and say, all right, fine. Or, I mean, maybe not literally give it up, but you don't plan on building there ever.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, just also starting with a fleet here means you're never going to be able to colour in this one, right? Like, ever,
Makes
because
it
you
real
can't
tough, yeah.
you can't build the army in the first place that you need in order to colour there. You have to get it from somewhere else. So you got to convoy it from here. That seems a bit difficult. Yep. Man, where do you even go to try and get builds in Africa as someone who starts
As
with a fleet?
Spain?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, nowhere. You talk to whoever Britain, right? In Spain, you got to sell something for lag, but you can't build an army ever.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's like England can do it because England can potentially get like they take WAF and then they just have to get supported into LIB.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, it's really cool because LIB is this stupid neutral territory that you don't really. I'm looking at the one to the left. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you can try to get that one, but again, there's that stupid neutral pirate fleet there that's just sitting around. I like how I made it a fleet, not an army, by the way. Good touch. And that fleet like, you need to get supported to break, and you're not probably going to support yourself. Maybe you can, but it's a fun negotiation point because, hey, maybe you talk to Spain. Spain's got this useless fleet. They don't want to put their fleet in LIB, but maybe you, like, go into the ocean in the fall, East Atlantic Ocean, and then you talk to Spain, like, hey, you want to support me to LIB? And then you could suddenly build an FRE eventually, and, like, that's kind of cool. But I don't know. If I look at the, can you zoom out on Africa a little bit some more, rather than looking so much at the coast?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only one inland center, and that's the one that the French start in.
There's this one here too, right?
Oh, KHA. Sorry, I didn't notice. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But I think it's just those two.
Yeah. I'm second guessing. No, it looks correct now. I noticed that all the neutral armies weren't on supply centers, which was neat.
Yeah.
And then there's this connection between Cairo and KHA. And so that's just saying armies can, in fact, walk there, but it's a canal province is the idea, so boats can go through it.
Yes, exactly.
That's just how they drew it on this map? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And then armies can't go from AWE to Cairo. That's the big one.
Where is AWE?
ADE, sorry. ADE.
Yes.
Yeah, they can't do that.
No connection.
Okay. Sure.
But yeah, I think that the powers who start with an army in Africa are going to be massively advantaged. And it's super interesting with Spain because if you remember back to the you probably don't, what centers count as part of what board, right? These centers in Spain actually count as both the Europe board and the Africa board. So if you want to get to 15 in Spain, Africa is actually a reasonable option for you to go for. You start with 1, 2, 3, and then an extra guaranteed 1, 2, right? So you'll have 5 just off the bat. You only need 10 more. I say only, that is quite a lot to go for. But it is certainly a direction you could send a lot of units in. But I don't think this fleet is going to help you very much in doing it. It just feels so difficult to make anything work with it or to hold anything long term. It basically all has to come from here.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the tactics and trying to envision how you make progress here as not France. And making these coastal crawls is quite difficult because a lot of these supply centers only border a single coastal province, right? If you look at all of them, I don't see any that border 2, right? Like BTA borders just 1, LAG borders just 1, CCO borders just 1, FRE borders just 1, DAK borders just 1.
When you say borders just 1, do you mean like
ocean?
Oh, ocean provinces, I see, yeah. They are pretty...
Yeah.
Yes, they'll be kind of a slog to get through, right? Or get into. I wonder if your main objective as Spain here, if you do want to go for an Africa push, is just to try and get convoys off into this area. But even there, it's kind of difficult. There are only 3 places you can reasonably land. And that one's got a fleet in it. So you need support.
Although that one, notably, you can't spur yourself into.
Yes.
I'm sure there are interesting tactical ways to do things. And we can see, I think pushing down the coast as Spain is a very reasonable way to go. I think that's a solid path in my, couple of minutes of analysis.
Okay, I think genuinely as Spain, your best option with this fleet is to go out into GUI and then use it to support a convoy into WAF on the next year. Anyway.
Yeah, well, that seems reasonable, but we're not Spain in this game, Captain. Maybe I don't have to worry about just what the Spaniards do.
That's
Despite
true.
both of our initial reactions being, let's look at Spain. I think it helps that they were both yellow. Are the colors the same as they were in Dip? Spain's the same.
They're roughly similar, but
France
they are
is
based
similar.
on just like historical
Like the
colors of those
flags.
nations on maps, right?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, as I think back to Pirates of the Caribbean, the video game, or Sid Meier's Pirates, excuse me. And that game colors are that as well.
Yeah. All right. So, one more theater to go over, right? This one here.
All right,
Uh,
let's go into the fall and let's see how things go. Eh?
okay. Let's move ahead to the fall then. So we've got the clean map here. I'll just go ahead to the moves themselves so we can have a look at that. Where do you want to go first?
Let's just do the same thing. Let's go like west to east. Eh? So let's start North America, then South America, and do the rest.
Sounds good. All right. Well, it looks like they didn't make the mistake that you said you were going to make of Bahamas trying to support Hold Key or something similar. But I guess they
Yep.
didn't need to because they didn't have anything adjacent, right? This is weird to me,
Absolutely.
though, because it covers up a center that you just gain the ability to build in.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah,
it looks like they're setting up a convoy, so hopefully that convoy goes well for them.
it seems fine, right? I don't think they're gonna get that many builds. Just looking at the neutral count on this map, it seemed like there were relatively few.
Oh,
And
that's
so you see how
true.
they had, right? They only had three starting units over there, and only one of them got a dot. So hey, if they're only building locally, they can still build in Cuba or Havana, right? Havana's going to be a thing, I think.
Yes. Yeah, they will
So it's
actually
like
call that.
they can still build. So if they want to convoy that, bring Yari back is great. It's useful.
Mm-hmm.
Oi, oi, oi. All right, we see three units bouncing over the home supply center of
Houston?
whatever that is. Yeah,
Yeah.
but then the Confederacy also self-bounced in it, and the two of them managed to be friendly in the east with Richmond and Washington, D.C., but I don't think they're friends. I think this is all-out war between Confederacy and the Union.
I would agree with you, especially considering it looks like Spain has taken a side in the American Civil War. They
Yeah,
have gone ahead and supported the Confederacy out into the East Coast, which I can't imagine the Union will be very happy about.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so, and yeah, Union makes no progress over here after that self bounce occurs.
Yeah, and then it's open for a fleet build. That's tough.
Yep. That
Jeez, if the Union had called the shot and then it supported whatever that is something EM.
this one, yeah.
Yeah, I would have chosen that one because then your army you have position on St. Louis for next year, plus you're bordering Magic the Gathering.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. That would have been huge if they'd entered that
But
support, but they don't go for it.
can't always do it.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with the move into DUR
DUR, where
from
is that?
France?
Oh,
Oaxaca into
here.
DUR.
Yeah, that's a curious one. I don't know what that... Like, that must be to mess with Mexico, right?
That's just saying that we're at war, I guess.
Yeah, and that is such a brutal province, because as you mentioned, people don't get many builds, it looks like, right? Mexico gets 2 total. And
Yeah,
this is adjacent to 4 Mexican SCs, plus a neutral dot that Mexico really wants.
yeah, Durango. But I will say it's not that bad for Mexico because France isn't building.
Oh, that's not adjacent. I missed that. But yes, is France not building at all? Oh,
Well,
in
nothing
this
is
region.
poured.
That's true.
Yeah, so and like that fleet is going away, so it's like yes, Mexico's only building two, but Mexico even locally is going to have four units to deal with the two pesky French units,
Mm.
and so like yeah, Durango's annoying. We don't disagree, but uh, I don't I don't think France should have necessarily picked this fight.
I don't know
Um,
if they decided to pick the fight, because look, Mexico is moving into the center that you would think France should naturally take, right? Wait, but
yeah,
if you're doing this, why don't you go to CLM? Just nab their home. I guess you would have thought this goes back, but
yeah. If negotiations had broken down, you were like, "Look, I'm just gonna go for CLM. Please cover it. Defend yourself. I'll take GMC, and then we'll still be okay, right? No, no harm, no foul." And
yeah,
I suspect then, if you're assuming that, but you also know you're going to go to war, you might as well move to Durango. But this is why it's so brutal that France chose to go to VER instead of BHO,
yeah,
because now they can't build locally. They're just SOL. Um, so hey,
absolutely. Um,
oof.
I think I really would have preferred to see, like, this is the high risk high reward play going for these two. If TEH goes back to CLM, you get the best possible outcome, right, of a unit up in their uh
Yeah, up in their business.
yes, and getting the supply center here. But if you move to both CLM and GMC, you're overloading the TEH unit, right? You're saying that no matter what this unit does, I'm taking a dot. So it's the
Oh
low
yeah,
risk, like, guaranteed
still a
reward
solid
play.
reward strategy. It still
Yeah,
works out. Yeah, I think that would be my recommendation. But my recommendation also would have involved MER to BHO. So
yeah.
who cares what you have to say?
All right.
But this seems really good for Mexico. Yeah, they have an enemy, but they have a really weak enemy, so they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Let's check out with Russia in the north. How did things go in like Anchorage and Alaska area?
So you
Yeah,
were
just
absolutely right
coloring
that
in.
they were just coloring in, and England gets them to not go for Vancouver, which is
Yeah,
nice for
clean.
them. Alaska going out to the North Pacific now, so they were just coring these two, and they have successfully cored those two.
Although
Um,
it looks like NAR isn't core yet.
that's because this hasn't, like, this
Oh,
is
the move hasn't
before
resolved
the
yet. Sure.
move.
Yeah, okay. We'll
So
see in winter if it's cored.
yeah,
I assume it will be.
this one got caught on the spring phase, right? Because these are the only two adjacent. So
Yep.
yeah, and speaking of that, England gotta be incredibly happy about that result, right? Getting
Yep.
Toronto and whatever win is.
Maybe Winnipeg.
Winnipeg, yes. Thank you.
That sounds like a Canadian thing.
It does. Yeah. And this is a really strong province, like, looking at it. It's a Portugal
Yep.
province, right? In
Portugal with two land adjacencies. It's really neat.
hmm yes. So really nice play from England there. And they're out into the West Atlantic now. And that's
Yeah,
just
I
a
mean,
nice
North America
precedent.
is going as beautifully for England as possible, I would think. They got two neutrals. They don't have anyone moving against them. They even got Russia to not contest Vancouver. I think that's just wonderful. So
Yeah.
that's a great sign for England.
Yes. Moving to South America, they do lose this one to France, but I
Yeah,
mean,
but I mean,
it's one dot. Who
it's and
cares?
come on, it's a thought that literally didn't start with the unit in it. I don't think there's much to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful start for Peru by the look of things. They get 1, 2, 3 dots. So they double in the first
absolutely.
year. Um,
Yeah, always impressive, always great.
yeah, and Colombia gets what, 1? Where did this unit go? Oh, it went out
I
this
maybe
way. Okay.
yeah.
So they managed to pick up 2. So that alliance is going really well for these two. It looks like no one's really fighting on this continent yet. So,
We noticed there's that bounce in LMA.
this one, yes. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
That's definitely not friendly, is it?
yeah, that one looks not friendly. Wait, check SPO for me, please.
This one
South
here.
Pacific Ocean. Yeah, South Pacific Ocean to FAL. I think they thought that FAL was a dot.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, there was a
Um,
starting unit there, so of course it's a dot.
yeah.
So I'll tap it, and then I'll take it. And if they go for my capital the way they did, they get punished.
But I
Oops.
think this is a
Sorry,
dot as
actually.
well. It's hidden by the arrow, so
Yep,
this bounce is something that they wanted to happen, right? England coming
absolutely.
this way. I I feel like even if you thought that the Falklands were a dot, you probably want to self-bounce here.
Eh.
No,
Look, it's the high risk, high reward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if England covers the Falkland Islands while you go for the bounce, then actually it might go +0, but if you call it, at least you go +2.
Yeah, that's true. But yes, it's not a dot, so that's not going to work, unfortunately. Right. So anything more you want to talk about here, or shall we move on?
Does Brazil start with 4 units?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. They had...
Cool.
Everything is still in the starting centers, except the Rio unit, which... I assume Rio unit came here, and then the fleet went out to there.
It probably didn't start in Rio.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, unless it was... It could be... It could have been an army in Rio.
An
army
in
Rio and then a fleet. Yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So yes, and... Oh,
yeah,
Brazil started with 4 and got 1. That is maybe a bit of a painful start for them, but they're still on a good number of supply centers there in comparison to everyone else here.
Yeah, I mean, look, Russia starts with 4 in standard diplomacy, and they often only go +1, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Imp Dip has been spoiling us.
Oh, you specifically, man. I've been playing a lot of other pairs where you have to work for our dots.
I prefer not having to work for dots. It's much easier.
Yeah, maybe this is why you don't do well in chaos games, eh? No easy dots to scoop up.
Alright. Anyway, we see in Europe that my prediction was absolutely correct. Except they actually go in the opposite direction than I thought they were going to. I thought Ukraine was going to come down into Bucharest, but they sent a fleet. Now, that means there's less path forward for the unit, but they could just build an army here and then rotate the fleet back out to Black Sea and put the army through, right? So
it's just like watching the Juggernaut again.
Mm-hmm. It is very, very Juggernauty. And, I mean, Austria-Italy working very solidly together here. They take Athens, they take, I think it's Macedonia, Rome, they get into Zurich, right? And I don't know what on earth happened here. It looks like England tried to support Amsterdam into Brussels, and Amsterdam did not take that support. Yeah, this is impossible to interpret. Sorry.
I literally can't read it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look in the winter and we'll see what happened, and that'll tell us what they chose.
Yes. I mean, I can see an empty arrow here, which means a support that didn't happen, right? So this is England trying to support this unit down into Brussels, and that unit not taking the support. The rest of this is probably all just supports of some kind, maybe just support holds. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if we look down to Africa now, I'm just looking up here. There's nothing else that we needed to cover, right? Everything kind of just got evenly distributed up here.
Yeah.
Spain actually does manage to get a dot from this theatre.
Wow. And France chose to forego their own dot for it? France really hates England. That's the answer, man.
It's very possible. I also think this is just really good play on France's part. Supporting the Spanish into here, right? Because it means that England can't core this province, for one. I mean, they would have been bounced out anyway, I suppose.
Well, there's the neutral in Sahara, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true as well. So they wouldn't be able to anyway. Okay. But also, the Spanish can gain this dot, but they're never building here. So you can take these dots basically whenever you want to, and having the fleet here blocking the English in is kind of nice. Although,
yeah, plus back home, keeping Spain on side is pretty nice.
Yeah, and man, imagine the Spanish fleet probably stays in lag on the next turn to try and block the English out. English come out to CLI, right, to take the Spanish center, and then you're like, oh, I'm sorry, Spain, I'm gonna have to cover BTA for you because your fleet is not adjacent to it.
Yeah. I mean,
Except,
I recognize that this support is pretty useful. I just want to highlight that there was a huge cost to this,
mhm,
right? KAM not taking LEO is -1 dot, and BZZ is not cored.
yes, that is
You
actually big.
could have just taken LEO and then gotten the core, gotten the dot, put down an army here, and as we've noticed, there are relatively few armies in the area. You would
Mhm,
be practically guaranteed to take KHA next year. And you'll notice that KHA is owned by the British.
yeah,
So it's like you can still hurt the British a lot and be pro Spanish, but you can do it in a way that benefits you, I think, more. I'm really surprised to see this move. And you're risking not getting BZZ cord anytime soon. Because Britain, with their army and KHA, what are they going to do? They're presumably going to tap Leo or KAM at the right. Like,
yes.
yeah, I don't know. So
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And of course, there was nothing that could stop the French from moving into Leo on this turn. I initially thought the Zanzibar could bounce it, but no, these are not connected, right? So,
yeah, those are sea provinces, and then there's that bug province in the middle to be annoying.
yep. So, yeah, that is actually huge. And just the way Africa is, it is really going to be the person who gets stuff caught who takes control of this continent, right? Because as much as you can be annoying with one unit running around and irritating people, you're not going to be able to hold enough to win without building more. um,
Yeah, and like if you can have the armies in the center of the continent, you're gonna have LEO, BCC, and KHA on lock. And
yeah.
having those 3 units means you can then smack through the Sahara if you want to. It's not going to be the most efficient thing in the world, but like envision a world where, as France, you take LEO this year, then next year you make it your priority to take KHA from England,
Hmm.
right? You just support yourself into KAM and then take KHA, and then maybe you put down another army in here, or maybe you just stick to 2 armies. Depending on where England retreats, you could then support yourself into BUG and then support yourself into Zanzibar. And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, that's pretty great. And then you could put down an army, and then you can get into like Swaziland while tapping England and South Africa, and like you're just suddenly hard crushing. It seems like a really really good position that England gave you after this move into Zanzibar instead of the move to Swaziland, and then by supporting Spain, you kind of gave that all up.
Hmm.
So, in order for this to be worth it, in my opinion, Spain needs to give France a whole lot. And I don't see Spain giving France like 3 dots in exchange for this support. And that's what I see France giving up long term as a result of this. Plus, making an enemy out of England. Now, I suspect if we look back at Europe again, we're going to see that France like was an English channel and stuff, and so France already made an enemy out of England. So I guess it's not any worse. But like, you don't have to go for London, right? I mean, they were probably piecing out anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will indeed. I think this is Southwest Africa, by the way. Swaziland is very
Not
close to here,
Swaziland.
but I'm pretty sure it's just outside of that border. Um,
Sure.
so, but yeah. This is. Also, notably, France does have a core in Africa.
Oh,
There is one.
Swaziland is too far to the east. Swaziland is like where MOC is. My
Right,
bad,
yeah.
everyone.
But it is kind of
Also, it's in.
close. Um, this one right here, right? I think that's Antananarivo, something similar. This is core because this is the only land province adjacent. So France does have a core. They can build in Africa, but building armies here is going to be kind of inefficient and difficult to get them into the right
Yeah, so I
position.
mean, you just build fleets. And fleets are more important for Africa, to be clear. Most of the centers here are coastal, and there's
Mhm.
lots of these coastal sea supply centers. Honestly, looking at this position, I feel like France's best bet is absolutely to just bum rush Africa.
Yeah, I mean
Just hardcore.
it looks like they're pretty strong here, despite not actually having very many dots.
Because everyone else has almost nothing. And it's really hard for anyone else to core, right? As we looked at, England can't build, Spain can't really build, So the only one you're competing with is, I guess, Turkey, the
Yeah.
Ottomans. But there's like you only need 15 centers, right? So and then Spain, but because you started back. Yeah, no, I think we're gonna see France try to conquer Africa hard here, but and just choosing to ally with Spain ahead of time. Yeah, no, as the more I look at it, I really just like that support. All right, I don't
Mhm.
like it. I don't like it at all.
All right. Well, let's pan over to Asia then.
Yeah.
We missed these moves. Like, we didn't look at these moves too much last turn, but it does look like Russia is going to war with China, and wants Japan on side, and Japan does not want to be on side. They have taken the Chinese support instead, up into Pyongyang, and they're
Uh,
going this way instead, right?
yeah. It's always nice to be helped to be supported into a center from everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice for the one turn, and then the person you betray gets very annoyed at you because you have to make the choice between them, right? Um,
Sometimes,
well, I mean, if they
but
had both
often they're so
supported the
desperate.
same unit in, then that would have been a bit different. But then,
Okay, it'd be really funny if he accepted it with both supports.
just bounced himself.
Self-bounds himself with strength 2 to say, "Hey, I thought one of you guys was going to lie to me, so I upheld my end of the deal.
It's a,
They
you
didn't
could
get the
say, yeah,
center."
it was a trust test on my part, right? I am saying I want to make sure, I want to see which one of you is telling me the truth, so I'm going to order both of them in, and then the person who supports me gets their way because they they give me
They
the
held their end of
support.
the deal, and
Yeah.
then neither one of them support you in, and then you self-bounce yourself and look like a dumbass. Nice.
Incredible. But yeah, notably, this province here, I don't actually. I guess the army can probably go here. That has to be connected, right? I think so.
I don't. Oh, that's all one thing. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all one
that's all
province.
one province.
Surely.
So yes,
Yeah.
this is gonna have a connection here and a connection here. So this army is now threatening Vladivostok here, with, and of course the fleet is here and here. This is not looking great for Russia in this area. Uh,
Yeah, but at least they have a juggernaut in the west, so they're doing fine, right?
yeah. England is deciding to core in this area. Alright, getting Bombay, cored,
Sure.
and they get two support, like supports from China and Russia into Kabul. This is exactly what you were just talking about, getting supported by everyone, right?
Yep.
Um,
And see, you haven't stabbed anyone.
and these two nations are clearly at war as well, so they're gonna
It's
go,
so funny.
wait, what the hell?
But
Why
this
is
is
the
what
other person
shocking.
helping you?
Yeah, well, this is what shocking for alliance support means, right? They're
Mhm.
both trying to offer as many support as they can to everyone else to make as many friends as possible.
Yes.
And so it's like, okay, let's say I'll help you. No, I'll help you. You should take my help, not theirs, because the reciprocity thing's gonna kick in. That's great.
Yep. Alright, and down here, I mean, Spain and France working together, right? We saw that on the other side of the board.
Yep.
And they're presumably going to go against England. Although England does get the dot here. There's no one able to bounce them out of that. There was one person
Yeah.
able to bounce them out of that, but they didn't. So yeah.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Maybe they... well, I guess it's a 50-50 guess, right? Because this fleet could go here as well. In which case you
Oh
just...
yeah, they all touch each other. Yeah,
Yep.
okay, sure.
But yeah. This is interesting. It's not... The French fleet here isn't bothering going to Melbourne. It's going to Wellington instead.
Yeah, Wellington helps get closer to coring NOU, and there was a solid chance that that MBN got covered, right? So this was the guaranteed center.
Yes.
Seems fine.
I think that was the idea probably here, right? Was to come here to try and bait the English into this province and move back out, so they wasted their unit. Although the army doesn't really do very much.
Well, here it got dot, so
Oh, yeah, it does. Okay, I didn't notice this was a dot. That's important.
yeah.
Really good turn from England all around, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
This
no,
is
because there's this
maybe...
big Spain and French alliance against them.
Okay,
right? So that part's not great. But given that, the fact that they still got so much is pretty good.
Yeah. But they lost the Falklands.
Yeah, I know. Brutal.
Alright, let's go ahead to the winter then. I'm not sure we need to really examine the builds. We can go straight ahead to the moves on the spring. Well, actually, the builds are kind of interesting, I guess, because of the cores, but it's more about where people can't build them where they do, right? Wait, is that a home supply center? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it has the... Oh, okay. Well, that's important.
Wait, was it always? Oh, do these not count as, like, needing to be controlled, maybe?
Well, let's check if CCO does.
Oh, no, because CCO would need lag to become...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. There's probably another one. But we'll check.
Yeah.
Maybe in, like, India?
Whereabouts, sorry?
Go to the next thing. We need to see the fall moves, right?
Oh, right, wait, this would be another one, right, with the,
Yeah, let's check if it's colored in after HYD gets colored in.
Yes, okay, so these provinces don't count for coring, it looks like, until the units gets forced out of them.
Well, that makes England's life a lot easier in Africa, eh?
Yeah, suddenly they have somewhere they can build.
Yeah, okay, alright, well, forget what I said about how busted it is for France to just conquer the entirety of Africa unopposed.
I mean, it's still kind of
something extra.
Difficult for England to do stuff with this, right? And they wouldn't have CCO cored even without the Spanish getting supported into here, because that would have bounced.
Yeah, as long as it was neutral.
Yeah.
It does mean that actually it's really important for Spain to bounce that. Holy, because if England can build twice, including an army and CCO, they're going to have such a nice position in Africa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright.
And England do decide to build there, as we saw, but they build a fleet here, so...
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, I guess that is going to be kind of annoying for the Spanish, because there are now two fleets bordering on a very important province for them, and there's only one Spanish fleet here. Oh, there's three fleets bordering on that province. Oh, jeez. Yep. Spain has to watch out here.
Yeah, and then CEL is going to be annoyed. Brutal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, okay. I'm just having... Sorry, go on.
Did France build in Madagascar? I kind of assume he did, because it seems really important. Yeah, okay.
Fleet there. It looks like they built a lot over this area as well. England just not building... Oh, England didn't manage to core any of these because these are adjacent land provinces. Okay.
And there's 3 centers out there. Oof.
They have 1, 2, 3, 4 centers in that area. Right?
Yeah, although plus the India stuff. And India is going to be able to help out, right? BEN.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and the Indian Ocean. Jeez, England is really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Despite France and Spain coordinating on this front, like, how many units do they have total?
In this area, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And England's got, like, 7? 6?
They've got 2 here, then 4, yeah.
Yeah, jeez. I suppose that army over in Afghanistan isn't, or whatever that one isn't quite as useful as the army is. And like, then there's the fleet that France has. I don't know. It's France and Spain have an edge, but it's not nearly as much of an edge as you would expect to see when 2 colonials are coordinating against the third.
Yeah. 100%.
Especially because Spain loses something, right? Spain just loses NUM. Oh no, because the army can't walk there. That's right. That army on Australia is actually kind of useless.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
It needs to get convoyed somewhere, which I guess it can through here. I don't actually know if fleets can convoy through those provinces. Maybe they can. I'll have a quick look.
Yeah. I'm not worried too much about it.
Yes, convoys can happen through those provinces. So
Sure.
This army could
So, like,
get convoyed to
Cairo?
here or something.
So, just confirming, if we get over to Cairo real quick, they can convoy with that?
I believe so.
And then, like, Eastern Med? Yeah, Eastern Med makes sense, because there's nothing weird about it. But Cairo, I guess you can convoy through Cairo.
Yes, you can. You can convoy through Cairo. The example they give on the rulebook is Panama can convoy
Sweet.
across. But yeah. So
Okay. Cool.
Interesting. All right. Let's go ahead to the spring.
Yeah, let's see some moves.
Okay. So, North America again to start with. It looks like the Union is having a really bad time.
Let's see.
So, Russia gets supported into Portland.
Into Portland.
Yeah. Then England is coming south. Although, actually, is England attacking the Union?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not, right? Because that's not adjacent to any Union dots anyway.
Minnesota, I think, might be, right? No, it's not. Sorry, MID is not actually a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
What happens here? They try and... So the Confederacy tries to convoy this over to here and support it, which gets countered by a supported attack in. So basically nothing happens on this entire front, except for this one advancing to Egypt, and this one going back home.
Yep.
Yeah. And the Confederacy picks a side in the south against Mexico, which is interesting.
Which is surprising, considering, Mexico's working against the Union in the north. Oh.
Yep. It's a... I mean, I guess Confederacy saw a dot and went, yeah, I'll have that. Although
and the Confederacy also does need France to be on side, right? If France chooses to mess with them with their fleets and stuff in the area, that's also a huge pain.
That is true.
So it does help.
But
and this gives them a friend and a dot.
If Mexico decides to just mess with them here, that's going to be very painful for the Confederacy as well.
Just, what do you mean? Just there's open dots ready to fight?
Yeah, I mean, the CSA is going to have, 1-2 here, defended by one unit, right? I guess this unit could come down.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's going to be a lot of Mexican armies in this area ready to get on that case. I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe the French can overwhelm them.
I'm really surprised that Mexico chose to leave CLM open for a retreat.
Yes.
Right, Durango just goes there. It's like he's daring you to make the move.
Well, he has the units to kick them back out again, right? There's a fleet here as well.
Yeah. But not even tapping GMC.
Yeah, curious.
Yeah, I mean, this leaves you positioned to retake CLM. I don't
know. We'll see as we go ahead, I guess. Notably, Colombia tries to support the Spanish into BLO, or BL, whatever that one is, BHO.
Yeah.
But the Spanish decide, nah, I'm gonna convoy an army into your backline. So, kind of painful for them. And that is the only convoy that would have worked here, right? Everything else was covered. So, it's one of those things where you get the army onto the continent, you go, yeah, I don't care that it's not in a supply center, I managed to land it. And now we can work with 2 units against those adjacent dots.
And Panama and MAN are both adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, in this situation, there's no actual guess because they hold each other, so you don't get anywhere.
The French are working with the Spanish, right? We've known that from the other side of the map. So this unit probably taps here.
True that.
So yeah, we'll see there. All right, if we move south, we see the British getting involved down here. Oh, they're getting involved against the French dots, right? Just positioning around here and going, screw you. if you're helping the Spanish against me.
Yeah, although notably, Brazil getting into AMA, it means that Brazil is probably going to go for Cayenne here,
mhm.
right? So England's probably not going to get it.
Yeah, unless they come to a deal where. Oh no, wait, Brazil is getting supported into that by France. Okay, so
Exactly.
France has definitely said you can have that one, that's yours. And then
Yeah.
England comes down, isn't
Although
having
that
it.
Brazil says, you know what, I'll take GEO instead, and I'll work with England here, and England could take Cayenne. That'd be very funny.
Yeah. Brazil also have to be careful about England just slipping into here, right? Because this is a dot as well as province.
Yeah. So that's a good reason to tell them, hey, look, you can just take Cayenne. Have fun. Have at it.
Absolutely, yeah. And it looks to me like Peru is about to stab Colombia, right?
I mean, about to or already did. Surely NVA was not agreed.
Oh yeah, that doesn't actually border anything else. Okay. I assume that they must have that they would be saying, "Hey, I need to get this to the front line." But yeah, you would go via Azu if you were actually doing that legitimately, right? And wanting to work
Putting
with them.
yourself in both NVA and AMZ simultaneously is a bit much, eh?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So everything going a bit poorly for Colombia here right now with that
Yeah,
convoy
having their
and.
allies stab them while France and Spain are coordinating. And since Spain is working against them already, presumably this France and Brazil, God, there's so that's like a triple, quadruple thing.
Mm-hmm.
France, Spain, Brazil, Peru. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's bad news for Colombia if that's what's happening. Yeah, I would not.
Seems like very
Yeah.
bad
Oof.
news. Yep. Okay, and Peru maneuvering around like completely unopposed everywhere they're going here. They that actually looks like a really good spot for them, right? They're getting position
Yeah.
on SUC as well, and they get a fleet down south.
Yeah. A
Yeah,
sign of a really good diplomacy game is being able to walk everywhere unsupported and having everything work.
yep. Uh, and England finally evacuates their fleet into the middle of nowhere. Why is everyone so concerned about the Falklands? Did I miss a rule that turns the Falklands into a supply center in this variant or something? That's just not shown on the map. Um, Falklands
I
is
don't
an
know.
English territory. No, it's not a supply center. So why are they fighting so much over it? This doesn't make any sense.
I'm
Uh,
with you.
yeah. Well. Alright. And yeah, it looks like Chile and Argentina are going to war. I assume that the big winner from that will again be Peru. Because they're going to come in from behind and get everything.
Seems great.
Yeah. Alright, shall we go across to Europe?
Yep.
Juggernaut versus Austria, Italy. And it is going exactly as Juggernaut versus Austria, Italy would be expected to go, right? They're all just stacking a million units up on this border. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, notably, Turkey's got other considerations in this one.
mhm.
Whereas on the standard board, there's nothing else for Turkey to do. Here, it looks like Turkey is sending some African units south. So it's a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually is going to have a pretty big impact because otherwise you would expect Cairo to be supporting this move out or to be going up north into Eastern Mediterranean or into Tripoli, right? And
Yeah.
it doesn't, so they're not going to make any progress here. And actually, the Italian is going to get the upper hand because they're now in Ionian, getting support into there. And of course, this army doesn't threaten this province because it's an army, so can't move over there. Ugh, ouch. This is a painful position for Ottomans, actually. Now that I'm looking at it, it's a lot worse than the standard Juggernaut versus AI, where you would expect that they don't really make any progress until they convoy into Syria or manage to get a
Yeah, I
successful
mean,
support into Bulgaria.
yeah, a big part of that is because Turkey chose to schlep Cairo out down south.
Mm-hmm.
If they kept that in the area, it would have been, they would have been more even.
Yes. I wonder if they're just going all in on Africa. They're going, everyone else doesn't have enough in Africa to contest it properly, so I guess I'll just take. But it doesn't feel like they're gonna get all that much very soon in that theatre. But yeah, I guess we'll see as it goes.
Yep.
On the other front, it looks like Germany is now attacking France. And exactly what you said would happen is happening here, right? The Italian-Austrian attack on Marseille. It looks like the green arrows are actually support holds when they look like this. So this is the French support holding their units so it doesn't fall to this. And France maneuvers full south to defend against it, and unfortunately that's not going to work because the German comes in behind them. Ouch.
Yeah.
Yep. This is a bit...
Yeah, this looks like England did a good job at screaming to the board, oh my god, France and Spain are allied. We need to hit them.
Mm-hmm.
That's my read.
Yeah, that seems accurate. Notably, France is supporting England here.
Yeah.
Why is that happening? And it looks like England had different orders in up until the end, right? Because this looks like it's supporting London out into the English Channel, which is the move that you would expect England to be doing. And then they switched it up so they go to Wales instead and cover London. Which, I mean, that's also a totally reasonable defensive move that you don't really want France to be getting into anywhere on those, like, behind your lines, but... Some curious negotiation happening here. I
don't fully understand it. That's true.
Oh, I wonder if Spanish-French relations actually just broke down here. That
Maybe. I don't think...
Odd,
if you look at the moves that Spain made, right, they don't look like they're fully anti-French, right?
Yeah. I don't know, though.
I guess BLR is potentially anti-French.
No, I don't see it. Like, if you want to be anti-French here, you're staying in the Gulf of Mexico because you want to be adjacent to two of their supply centers, right? Unless you thought that Spain was getting convoyed into here. But, yeah, I think they're still working together, but this kind of thing is just really odd. Maybe they didn't realize this wasn't a canal province. And this also is weird.
BIS is weird as opposed to just, like, getting supported into CEL or something. I do agree. These don't look like super tight allied moves, but also, I don't know, I'm just so surprised if their negotiations somehow completely got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, things were going so well for them, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm really unsure about this, like, moving up into BLR instead of trying to get two fleets on the East Atlantic. Although getting those two fleets coordinated is actually super difficult because this fleet is so far away from getting here. Maybe they just decided the only way I'm going to get this is if I force my way down into Africa through the French. This is interesting. We'll see how it goes as it goes along, right? We can see France actually just goes straight into the Spanish center here. So
yeah, Spain couldn't defend it, right?
Yep, and Spain misguesses, I assume, on this front.
Yeah, but like meanwhile, England also gets to walk into LEO, so like France isn't building here anyways.
Oh my god, yeah, they can just walk into BZZ. Oh no. Man, everything's coming up England right here. This is, very nice for them. Ooh, I didn't see this. Brazil convoys into Cape Town.
Oof.
Oh.
Clean. Hell yes.
It's actually amazing, because it's like this. I don't think Brazil can reasonably compete for a win on the Africa board, having started with 0 units there, right? But it is still providing builds that they can use back at home, especially if no one else has like armies here. They can just run wild and take hopefully more than one, so it can support, so it can upkeep itself.
Got it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to talk about in Africa, or shall we just move on along?
I mean, Africa seems... I don't know, there's nothing much to say. One thing that I am surprised about is this move from France to support their army from Algeria into ERG.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I would have kind of expected it to go from the other way.
Yeah, you would have thought so, coming this way down. Maybe they're working with the Ottomans, but then you also would have expected Tunis to be the one... No, Tunis can't be the one to move out, because there's Italian units here. I don't know. So maybe they just didn't trust the Spanish or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know.
I guess
it's a weird move.
Alright, let's go ahead to the Asia board, where it looks like a lot of nothing is happening. I didn't notice the Russians brought their fleet across from Alaska, right? So they actually can counter this attack in. I guess Japan had a 50-50 chance, because they could have added an additional support to this and actually gotten into Vladivostok. But they don't. They try and cover this against a potential attack from MPO, and that does not work. But other than that, it looks like the alliance lines are firm here. Everyone's just ganging up on Russia, and England has decided to choose a side there and go into Turkmenistan, I think that is, with Chinese assistance. So, bad news for Russia.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Indeed. And then...
We know what it's like to be Russia, just getting crushed by all your neighbors.
Yep, absolutely. And it's even more so when you're even more spread out than you are in standard diplomacy. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so over here, I mean, France moves into this province. So... I mean, it does kind of look like France and Spain are at war. It's a very confusing war. But somehow they are. I feel like we'll need to move to the next turn in order to see what's actually going on.
Are they actually at war, or is this just very weird?
I don't know. Like, why would you ever make this move if you're not at war, right?
I also agree. But, like... I guess, yeah, maybe they're just at war. Just as simple as that.
It's possible. Shall we go ahead to the next turn?
Yeah, let's see it.
Alright, the fall of 1863.
Maybe retreats.
Oh, this is the clean map. So the retreats in this variant aren't shown on the map, they're just posted in the Discord server.
Sure.
So the clean map is post-retreats. But then we get the moves. We're mainly focusing on the move maps anyway. And actually, the first thing I want to look at is, are the French working with the Spanish? Yes. Yes, they are. Okay. That is good to know.
Yeah, that makes things a little more clear for us.
Are they, though?
You said they're definitely at war, right?
So these are working together, right? The French support
I thought that was
the Spanish into...
Spain. Oh, that is French supporting Spain in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
I wonder if this is what they meant when they were... What Stitches meant when he told me that the fact that there were separate players for the colonials...
Yeah.
...is important here.
Wait, but if it's the center versus not, right? Then for...
Yeah.
Yeah, because back home, France and Spain are at war, but then abroad they're working together. So if you look at the East, right, for Spain and France, we should expect to see
They
coordination.
did try and work together. That
Yeah,
that's not a valid
right.
support in any case, right?
Well, it is a valid support. Just the move can't ever go through.
Yeah, it would need to be convoyed, right?
Yeah.
And these guys don't exactly trust each other because they're support holding here, right? The Spanish. But yes,
maybe there's like 3 players for each country. Maybe there's 1 for each board.
Maybe. Hang on. I can go and check the. What did Stitch just send me on that front? Oh, colonials are played by a team of 3 people. Okay, you are absolutely correct. 1 for the Americas, 1 for the East, and 1 for Europe/Africa. Okay. So these are 3 different people negotiating for different regions, which explains why they may be at war in one region and working together in another.
Yeah, that makes so much more sense now. Okay, great.
That does. Alright. Well, let's look at North America. Looks like this is one place where Russia is going to make a gain. 2 gains. They get into Honolulu as well.
Let's go.
Where's this unit going? It's just going into a random sea province on that side, so more bad news for Colombia, I guess. They are gonna lose Honolulu. They end up losing this province here. And Bogota as well, Bogota. So they're down to just 2? Yeesh.
Oof.
Painful one. Okay, this is super interesting. Mexico convoys the French army into GMC. Which, I mean, that's one way to get them off your back, right?
I mean, it works.
Yeah.
It makes friends, and you're saying, all right, France, I have a new enemy to deal with. The Confederacy screwed with me, and as you said, Mexico can, in fact, screw up the Confederacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man.
But then France simultaneously doesn't actually help the Confederacy out. Or it does help the Confederacy out. That's great.
That's the interesting thing, because the Confederacy is support holding this unit, right? They're not supporting France in. So the Confederacy took the French support into the center and then flipped on them and said, okay, Mexico, I'm on your side now. Mexico says, I don't think so, mate. I'm going for it. France are like, nope. but I'll work with you over here.
Well, I mean, I'll take the dot. Jeez. Like, I'm not crazy. But had enough faith. I'm shocked. Why not tap CL? Oh, because this makes a core. Because now VER is also a core.
That's huge.
I was thinking, why not just go for CLM? Because but also MAZ borders CLM. Yeah, okay. Look, I think that's a reasonable thing. If somehow Mexico convinced France, I am actually convoying you. Hell yeah, you gotta take that. Mm-hmm. That's sick.
Notably, right, Mexico knocked France out of this province last turn and left CLM open, as you noted, and they retreated here instead. So they clearly came to this agreement before that point, right? Or had something going in the works or negotiated between them. This is a really beautiful move, I think. For both of them, really. It helps both a ton.
Convoying an enemy away from your center in order to give them a dot elsewhere that you could have taken instead. Funny how good that move is at salvaging relations between 2 countries, CaptainMeme. I love this move.
Oh boy. Alright, yeah, I can't imagine Mexico's too happy about this one, but we'll see the consequences of that.
No, Mexico's probably pissed.
Alright. The Confederacy do manage a successful convoy this time, and it's through, this was unstoppable, right? That is a supported attack. And there's nothing that could have supported New York City into the East Coast. So that army gets there and is going to dislodge Washington, D.C. And make a pretty strong line here against them.
And so if we look at the moves up around LEC and St. Louis, it looks like England supports St. Louis into LEC, and the Confederacy support LEC into St. Louis.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's what's going on up there, so that's why they all bounce. And so Mexico was accepting the Confederacy's support into St. Louis while attempting to retake whichever dot that was down there.
Yes. Man.
Sure, you gotta play both sides.
Yeah. Actually hilarious. I assume Mexico would have taken this and gone, I'll work with you still now, but that was clearly my center, right? It's adjacent to all of my stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, this is interesting to me as well. It looks like the Union tried to ally the Confederacy to support them down south into Florida, right? And said, look, this France-Spain alliance is just too strong. We need to do something about it. And Confederacy clearly said yes and then went, nope. I want to take Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt seems important.
Alright. Let's go ahead to South America here. So, we have already noted that Colombia is in a bad spot.
Yeah.
And we have noted that the main winner of this was going to be Peru. They are supporting the English fleet out. I guess that doesn't matter too much for them directly. But they're going to go +2 here, I think. And then help Chile.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Argentina and Amard, so I suspect they're very inactive in press as well.
Ooh, okay.
And so, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a painful one. But yeah. And that actually is interesting. If Argentina go completely inactive, I think Peru might regret powering Chile up. Because I feel like this line of centers is really hard for Peru to take in the long term if Chile is doing well. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, hey, you have an enemy, let's make a friend while taking centers from your enemy.
Yep.
That's a pretty common thing to do.
That's a pretty reasonable take.
But at the same time, I think you're right. Like, hey, they're NMRing, let them keep the one center down there. You can take suck. And then from there, you could like convoy yourself into LMA with support, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Something like that. / go for sit. Is that SIT or SLT?
SLT.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, just a little blurry.
But yes.
Anyways, I mean, it's still great for Peru. This is very solid. They've got a good ally in Brazil. They've got enemies that they're gaining from, and then they've made another friend from Chile.
Yeah.
Seems good.
And Brazil seems to be doing as well. They gain one over here, and they gain another one in Cayenne. So they're going to go +2, and they do manage to cover this against the English fleet. So that all works out pretty well for them.
Did England convoy into SUR, or did they take that with the fleet?
They took the fleet.
Okay.
That would be a nice place to convoy to, for sure. But
I don't see any armies ready to convoy, so...
Yeah. It's still... They have 2 on Cayenne, they have 2 on GEO. That could work out for them. We'll see. It probably won't work out for them long term, because if they land fleets in this area, they're not going to be able to do very much with them beyond just the immediate take. But
and importantly, those are in the South America area, not North America, right?
Yes.
So yeah, England is doing well in multiple theaters to start, but they don't have any one area where they're crushing.
Mm-hmm.
So neat. Interesting to see if they can try to convert that into a really strong position in one region.
Yeah. Alright, let's have a look at Europe here.
Yeah. I'm looking at this also. I do think that the French players are just not aligned in the slightest. Right? Because they're also managing to be at war with England and at peace with England in different locations. So, yeah.
Yeah, it seems a little chaotic. Oh, man. They tried, so they just supported Algeria down, and now they're having to support it back up again to defend against the Ottomans, right? And
Oh, man.
It looked like Spain tried to convoy through the English fleet, and oh my god!
Did they try to convoy through the English fleet or just support the English fleet into MOG?
And so the blue lines mean a convoy via that, right? So this unit
Oh,
here tried to jump over there with 2 supports, and England was like, oh, you're using all those units to do this thing with me. How fascinating. I think I may take advantage of that and walk into 2 of your darts.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's a real win for England on that front. Yeah.
Jeez, that's an annihilation.
Yup. Really, really brutal. And it looks like... so France pulled their fleet out of the English Channel, managed to take Brussels back with this tap on Cologne, I guess. And English take the English Channel behind them, so they're in a really solid spot. This was kind of the only theatre that was really going against them early on, apart from the Falklands. But
the most important theatre, they're the Falklands.
Yeah.
Losing that, I don't know if they can recover.
Yeah. Well, they better retake those by the end of the game, otherwise Margaret Thatcher is going to be very annoyed with them. All right. They have managed to completely stabilize here. They look really solid, and they took 2 dots. That's incredible. And it looks like they wanted German support into Stockholm as well, but they weren't getting that one. Yeah. I think in this variant, Oslo is not adjacent to St. Petersburg by fleet. Because it cuts off on the top of the map.
Because they cut off the thing.
Yeah.
But, okay, are you sure about that?
I feel like it is, because this sea province is unnamed, right? And there's no, canal indication on St. Petersburg or anything like that. And no coast, so I think this is all just not passable to fleets.
I wish they would have brought that border down just a little bit to be a little less maybe accurate, because if you look at the coast of Oslo, you can still see that there's the coast of Oslo that borders St. Petersburg, right?
Yeah.
And so it is annoying, but I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't see a separate coast for St. Petersburg. I don't see an east or west.
Yes.
Yeah, so okay, I think you're right. I just hard to see.
So yeah, if England wants to make progress against Russia, they will have to convoy an army into here, but I don't know that they actually do, because there's not that much more for them to outright push into there. And especially given they just let France get back into Brussels, they probably just want to go in on the Germans here with France, right?
Yeah.
Alright. So, not much happening in this war right here. Austria gets supported into Warsaw, which is probably important, but that's the only progress anyone makes. This looks like a misorder to me. The Italian moving into the Austrian dot, but they were trying to support hold themselves, so I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, they were trying to support themselves into the Austrian dot. This looks like they're just stabbing.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, they moved into Venice.
Because they also walked into Venice, and they looked like they are tapping Zurich.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're taking Zurich and Marseille supporting. So yeah, Italy is just stabbing Austria here.
But they misordered. Ouch.
Misordered. Which really kind of hurts a lot here. Don't misorder, guys. Recommend against it.
Yeah. Well, misordering is fine. Don't misorder on a stab turn. That's
Or not a stab turn, frankly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alright. Well, let's go ahead and look at Africa. I mean, we've already seen this part, which was very amusing and interesting.
Yeah.
It's yeah, Spain gets kind of screwed on this front as well. France doesn't even support them into the LAG. I assume because France is now working with England on this front. And England manages to take LEO and keep KHA. So good on them, although they do lose Cape Town.
Yeah.
France didn't trust England here either.
I mean, you blame them?
Yeah, why would you, I suppose? But it means that France can't build here, which is interesting. Man, does France even get any builds? I don't know that they managed to. I guess they got one here. But yeah, alright. Anything else you want to talk about in Africa?
Not too much, honestly. There's not a lot of action going on around here. This looks like a theater that most everyone's deprioritizing.
Yeah.
So, if someone can sneak in here and get control, they're going to have a huge edge. And it makes you wish that France had really gone for it. I think their position would be nuts if they did.
Mm-hmm.
But, oh, that's what they got.
Yeah, what I see as a threat here is probably this getting supported down to here, right? This army? Because the only reason you do this is if you want to get this army down into Africa quite quickly through Aden. But, yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then, Asia. Russia is still getting attacked by everyone. And that is literally all that's happening in the north. Ouch.
Yeah. Brutal. Well, alright. At least, hopefully it won't last too long. Hopefully he'll just get knocked out nice and quick. Or the team can get knocked out nice and quick and then move on to bigger and better things.
Mm-hmm. And then down here, I mean, France is getting knocked out of HOI. And again, England is getting given stuff. Like, this is so good for them. And they walk into another Spanish center. No.
Yeah, this is a rough fall for Spain trusting England.
Mm-hmm. Really rough.
I mean, we're going to see England win somewhere, presumably. And then we're going to see a lot of things disappear, so...
I mean, yeah, you can... That is the thing about this variant, right? Even if someone is a runaway leader, you can start playing for second place, which...
Yeah.
Yeah, the question is, do people just play for that sooner rather than later, just thinking, I'll just plan for when England disappears, instead of actually trying to oppose them while they're fighting?
Yeah, so it's like figure out where England's actually going to win, which looks like it's going to be the Asia region.
How much do they have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? So they're like halfway. Right. Oh, 8.
Plus
9.
they gained that one. Yeah, so they're going to gain. Jeez. They're going to win over here, which actually means that as China, don't you have to back off a Russian?
I think so. Well, you certainly have to beat up the English any way you can, because as China, if this region blacks out, you're just dead. Right?
Yeah, I mean, also if you're trying to play for the win, right, you kind of got to do the thing.
Yes.
So...
You got to play balance of power.
Yeah.
It's Ezio's favorite game style.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I suppose you could technically still win if you get blacked out here, if you manage to, like, flee with a fleet into another theater. But starting from scratch,
before you die, right? And then you're starting on one. No, like basically you have to. If you want to win this game as a regional in a region that a colonial is going to win, you need to get rid of that regional or that colonial. Excuse me.
Yes.
You need to win in your region. So yeah, all right.
Absolutely. All right. Shall we go ahead to the winter?
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay. So winter 1863. Here is post builds, I think. So you'll see Spain has 2 units left in Europe.
In Spain, yeah, that's tough.
They took off their Africa thing. It looks like
they lost their daughter over there. Yeah, their only hope now is to win in the Caribbean. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, their Caribbean holdings don't look bad. Right?
Yeah.
This is fine.
They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots, so they need.
And then how many units do they have?
They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're using 2 dots here to main. Oh no, they do have 3 units here. So are they just maintaining the same number of units in each theatre as they have dots? I guess they must be. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 4 even.
Sure.
Oh no, they have a 5th here. Ah, there's the 5th. So yeah. Looks like they're being very fair with their builds. I would not do that, I think. I would just get rid of everything here, because, like, this isn't gonna help. But then...
Yeah, but, like, how much did they disband this phase even, right?
Yeah, I guess they probably didn't actually disband anything in these theatres, right? They just disbanded a bunch of stuff in Europe and this.
Yeah, which I think is reasonable, right? And so I think they're trying what we suggested, which is pump out one theater. It's just they didn't have an opportunity to overbuild in a theater at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oof.
All right. Shall we go ahead to the spring?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Okay. Spring of 64. All right. So looking at North America, we do see Russia starting to invest a fair bit in here.
Yeah, I mean they've been successful over here, whereas their European theater sucks. So this makes a lot of sense to me.
So yeah, I don't see where they're going with this. Are they just trying to snipe Vancouver? Oh no, they're just defending this against this Union fleet, right? Because if that gets in there, that's a real problem for them.
Yeah, that's an important... I wish I knew what the name of it was, but that sea province is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wait, is it Victoria?
It can't be Victoria, surely. I mean, maybe it is Victoria.
I think it has to be, because there's nothing else that it could be.
Oh, you see this,
notably,
little border that goes around. It stops on Victoria, so you're absolutely right. It is Victoria.
And so it's also a dot, in addition to being a convoyable sea province. Yeah, that's one of the most important places on the board.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It borders 3 other provinces in addition to being a supply center, and you can convoy through it. Yeah, okay.
Yep. Alright. And what else is happening here? So, England doesn't seem to be doing all that much. Just maneuvering around.
I mean, walking into MID seems kind of good, right? It borders another dot. It's fine.
And that... I mean, I guess at this point everyone's just like, Union is probably gonna die because they just lost Washington DC, and everyone knows that the country falls after the capital falls, right?
Yeah, that's how things work.
But also,
well, I mean,
Mexico is helping here.
Yeah, I'm just used to all the movies where, like, the only city you see is actually Washington DC.
Mm-hmm.
So that is America. It's the only city in the world as far as aliens are concerned. So I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the same in War of the Worlds, right? The book. The moment London falls, everyone's like, the world is doomed. So it's not just America that does that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so it looks like Mexico is helping the Confederacy while also taking their dot in the south. They are absolutely like, this is mine, get the hell out, and then we'll work together up here.
Yeah. And then if the Confederacy retreats into Durango, I expect Mexico will have some harsh words for them.
Yes. One would certainly expect that. Including those harsh words probably also involve just walking into MAT, given that the Confederacy have left nothing adjacent to it apart from that one unit, right?
Probably, yes.
Man, but if you retreat into MAT, they just support themselves in there as well.
Well, you make friends at least, then they could choose to support themselves into Mexico City instead. Right? And so by being friends...
That is true.
Right, because, yeah, now they're in Oaxaca and the others, so...
I would not be at all surprised to see them support themselves into Mexico City. They're like, I have now convoyed you out of my hair. I will now proceed to kill you. Thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah.
Alright. Spain is taking whatever this one is. New Orleans, right? And then... nothing much is happening over here. It looks like a whole lot of red arrows. So this support held Washington, D.C. They attempted to take Washington, D.C. This got cut, right? Ooh, hang on. This looks like a misadjudication then. Because this unit, because it's tapped from this province, that doesn't actually cut the support as long as this support hold is in place. So that should have gone, I think. But yeah.
So what we're interpreting as the orders is we're interpreting TID going to WDC. Washington, D.C. is getting support held from Richmond, while Washington, D.C. supports GHA to TID.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. That TID should be bopped, actually.
Yeah, it's one of those really weird edge cases in diplomacy where support tapping doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because obviously...
Yeah, it does.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense if you're familiar with it, but explaining it is kind of weird. Because...
It makes sense if you think about it thematically, right? So the way that I like to think about it that helps me make sense to me is if I'm trying to support... like, if I'm Washington, D.C. here, and I'm ready to fight TID, I'm ready to help out CHA against TID, and so my support doesn't get cut by TID. But if I get tapped by something else, like New York or whatever, Connecticut, maybe, I don't know. If it's tapped by there, I'm getting surprised. And so the surprise is what cuts the support, but here I'm expecting the attack, so, like, I'm fighting them anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Just thinking of diplomacy thematically is a good way to understand how the rules work, I promise.
I mean, that actually is kind of true. But yeah, I guess where it gets a little less intuitive is the fact that if this had dislodged this, then that support is cut as well, even though it's not cut in this case where it doesn't dislodge it. But yeah, that's not relevant to this situation. That army should really be blown up. I guess we'll see whether that gets fixed or not on the next phase. Anything else you want to talk about in North America, or shall we move on?
I think North America's good. I think we can go, let's go to South America.
Yeah, Colombia hanging on for dear life up here, but it appears the dear life may be short. I suspect Spain is going to support this unit down into Panama at the same time as Peru takes Cartagena, right? You call it?
Yep.
See, I'm learning the pronunciation of South American territories from you now. This is good.
Hell yeah.
Is England getting supported in here? After they dotted Spain for 2.
Different people, man. Different negotiations.
Yeah. Man.
Hell yes.
England's press must be fantastic. Like, all of the Englands. Which is insane. But yeah. So... that's what's going on up in the north. And as much as I said that England's landing here wouldn't accomplish anything at all, right? It seems it might actually, if they're actually managing to take as far as this one. It looks like they do get knocked out of this province, so that fleet is going to have to retreat back into here, but they get Cayenne in return. And then other things happening. Peru moving up to here. Ooh, maybe Peru actually intend to take Panama themselves. And then it looks like they're just working with Chile down here.
Yeah. I mean, they had good relations. They started things working out. Seems clean. Well,
yeah.
Why make things complicated?
I'm really sad to see this. I think it absolutely makes sense to convoy it back, because you don't really belong in the African theatre when you only have one unit there. Although it is kind of equivalent in power to a lot of other players there, but it's better to put the army where you immediately need it, especially when you can put 2 on this dot and take that dot this turn. But man, I wanted to see Brazilian Africa.
Yeah.
They're not going to lose it this turn.
No, they're invincible.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Anything else you want to talk about in South America?
I mean, it feels kind of sad to have just glossed over it altogether, completely, in its entirety. But at the same time, things are going very well for Peru, and they're going pretty well for Brazil, and they're going pretty poorly for everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, I think. I was gonna say Chile is doing fine, but I can absolutely see Chile just getting stabbed on the next turn for 2, right? By Peru. Uh. Depends whether they're paranoid enough to cover themselves. And Argentina slipping into this province is kind of annoying, although they did go back and cover, so I guess they can defend everything. Yeah.
Yeah, seems great. Yeah.
Alright. Well, let's go over to Europe. See what's going on over here. I have no clue what's going on. Oh.
They're both supporting it into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, he's convoying elsewhere altogether.
Yep.
Sweet.
And failing to get that convoy because Prussia predicts it and bounces him out. But that is very funny all the same. Oh, man. I wonder if that is actually trying to support the fleet in, or whether they were trying to support a convoy. I don't know if that would appear any different on the map. Because obviously if France is trying to support the fleet in here as England, I would not be very happy with that. I would really want the army to get onto the continent, which is why I might do this. But if they were supporting the army in there, I think that's absolutely what you would have wanted to do here. In hindsight, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020. That's the nature of diplomacy, man. If I could see all the moves, I probably wouldn't lose as much.
Probably. I mean,
probably.
It is true. You still need decent negotiation, because diplomacy is one of those games where even if you're the best player in the world, if the whole board unites against you, you're not going to win.
Yeah, that is a fun thing that I've thought about, by the way, is having to play where one person is gunboat, but everyone else can see the moves, and just seeing how it goes. Right, I think it'd be very funny to just show to everyone it really maybe doesn't matter, right? Because I don't know, it'd be fun, but on the back burner. Point is, if you knew what they were doing, you could have done the right counterplay. Sadly, you didn't.
Yeah. Did you see the so I don't know if we have gotten to this variant yet. I don't think we did. One of the variants submitted in the variant contest was actually GM Guesser, which was a very funny thing that was kind of along the same lines as what you were saying, where one player has access to all of the press between every other player, and they can see all of the moves that everyone has submitted. But they can still communicate with the other players freely. But if anyone ever guesses that they're the player with that power, then the player who guessed it gets that power instead. And they lose it. And everyone gets to guess once during the game. It's just a really cool concept and very funny, I think.
Yeah. That's a fun concept. I like that. We'll talk about any other thing.
Yes.
I don't want to waste too much time here. That's a special video, but also it's pretty cool. So.
Alright, Russia finally catches a break here. They're getting supported by the English into Stockholm.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, and actually managing to take it there. They lose Bothnia, but I think that's going to be fine. They can cover St. Petersburg fine, and they get the English support hold here, presumably. I say presumably like the English are stood by anyone in this game. But I think it's in England's interest to keep the Germans out if they're attacking the Germans.
Well, you're right. You're taking German centers, and Denmark doesn't border North Sea in this one, so it's not quite as brutal. In standard diplomacy, very often when, England stabs Germany in one of the years by supporting Russia into Sweden, they're also, taking Belgium or Holland from Germany, and then in the fall, they get supported into Denmark. And so Germany loses everything immediately and then collapses into Kiel. On this variant, the stab isn't quite as brutal immediately, but it still looks pretty tough.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there are other interesting things going on the continent. You can see France rotating fully against the Spanish now. And Italy, of course, stabbed Austria. Austria is going to retaliate and go all in on Italy. And the Juggernaut taking advantage of that, just going in behind them. Although that's not a supply centre they need to take. I guess they're positioning on Budapest here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it all just kind of feels like England's game to lose right now, because everything else is just pure chaos.
Yeah, but again, as long as England wins in Asia before they win in North America, then all of the British dots are going to become easy to take. They're just going to be out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I say it's England's game to lose. I think Peru also is doing really, really well. And I don't know if Mexico has as many dots, but they would probably be my favourite in this theatre, given how well they've consolidated. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
And then I don't have a favourite in Africa. I don't know what the hell is going on in Africa. I don't think anyone's ever going to get to 15 dots here. Man, do you think England could get to 15 dots here? Because these centres count. So
those centres do count, and they did put an army down, which will help. But also Turkey is starting to contest. You'll notice Turkey now has an army in SEN and their army in Cairo. So I think Turkey is actually the favourite now to win in Africa.
And they leapfrogged Aden with the army as well to get it here.
They did the convoy thing?
Yeah, it looks that's a convoy move, right? Through there with the blue arrows.
Cool. Yeah, look at that. That's so cool. I love those sorts of moves.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, really, they are really strongly coming in now. I think you're actually right. It's going to be difficult for the English to keep what they have in this area with one army defending 3 dots.
2 armies. There's another army in Lagos.
Oh yes, so there is.
That's not Lagos, right? That's Lagos?
That might be. Isn't that where that is?
Yeah, that's Lagos. All right, great.
But yeah, so speaking of Africa, now that we're here, you pointed out that Ottomans are heavily mobilizing in this way. Is there anything else you want to point out here? There's not very much going on.
There's not a whole lot, because there's not a lot of units over here. I will notice that France is probably going to take FRE.
This one, yes.
Yes.
Well...
Oh, there's the fleet. Nope, East Atlantic, sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
England can bounce it, yeah.
Yeah, but England's got other stuff to do with that fleet, and they're kind of working together with France, so maybe it's a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I'm just really sad to see Brazil piece out of it. This is very disappointing. They could have won.
They could have won. Maybe. I think this is perfectly acceptable by Brazil.
Okay, I just want to quickly do a count. Let's say you exclusively, as Brazil, decide to convoy armies this way continuously and fill up this continent and push north. How long does it take you before you get to 15? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. You probably don't get any further than here with armies, all things considered. But like,
you could probably get KHA.
6,
I mean, not with Turkey
7,
committing as much. No, you're screwed.
8, 9, 10, 11. Man, you have to take the entirety of like mainland Africa to get to 15. Okay, fair enough then. You can convoy that out. I'll allow it. Man.
I'm glad it's legal.
Okay, let's go up here. It looks like China is still attacking Russia. Unsuccessfully here? Ooh, they're positioning on Japan as well now. Which...
Remember how we said I think it's time to go hit England in this region?
Yeah. Do they think they can win that race? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right now, and England have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, no, they are not going to win that race.
I mean, if they really get the jump on now, Japan's way too strong. No, I don't like this. Oh well.
Yeah.
It'll go poorly for them, and then they'll be knocked out, and that's their problem.
This is a time where balance of power play is actually required. Although, this isn't a fall turn, right? This is the spring turn. So maybe they're waiting until the fall turn to jump into Kabul here, which would be an interesting maneuver.
Yeah.
We can but hope. Interestingly, despite them propping up England here, Spain and France managed to work together to take this province back. So
yeah, and then China's probably going to lose HKG after, right?
Yeah. I assume that's Hong Kong, right?
I assume so too, but I don't know enough about China to claim to know the location of all of these cities. And there's no way that there's not another city that's HKG in China.
Yeah, fair. I think that is where Hong Kong is. I could take a rough guess at some of these purely because I've stared at the Imperial diplomacy map so much.
Sure.
But like that's Ganshi, right? And this is Shanghai, presumably.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway. We're learning stuff through doing this. Hopefully you are too. Alright. I mean, tactics-wise, the rest of this is all kind of like nothing happened. It looks like England was expecting France to take their support here, so France has decided to flip on them secretly to do this, which I think is correct. But yeah, it doesn't end up working for them here.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we move ahead then?
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay. So, fall moves. We have... Anything stand out to you in this region?
No, nothing stands out immediately. I mean, the colors are so weird. It looks like a bad turn for the Union, I think, is what stands out to me.
Okay, they did resolve this misadjudication, right? That got in.
Yeah, looks good.
So yeah, Union loses here, they lose here, but neither of those are supply centers, notably.
Yeah, they're not dead yet.
Oh.
But the position is kind of awful.
Yeah, that's a Confederate unit, right? So they're supporting England down and taking that. Yep. So Union has, Cincinnati, New York,
and New York City.
And San Francisco. It's alright, yeah. They've got all the important cities still. This is,
New York City, San Francisco, yeah. Really? That's the important part of the United States.
Don't forget Cincinnati. Very important city
Cincinnati
right now.
Is not one of the important ones. No one cares about the Bengals.
Oh, man. They get these two... that one is blown up, I think. This one could retreat into Iowa.
Yeah.
Or it could come off the board and they could rebuild it anywhere. Well, anywhere that is Cincinnati or San Francisco.
Yeah. I think the San Francisco unit would be more useful.
Probably. Although it's also less mobile, right? And you have to take it off after Cincinnati gets captured in the following year. So maybe you just wanted in Iowa to try and snipe Winnipeg or something.
Yeah, Winnipeg's plausible.
Except that
you can put
England will build
at least. Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think anything is working particularly well in this region for the Union. I think it's going great for England, as expected, but not well enough to be the winner, probably. Although it's weird, because you can be in the majority of all of the regions, right? You can just have a super clean game, and then you can win in one of them, and then suddenly you've got the majority of centers in each region become neutral.
Yeah. It's almost... It's such a weird one, right? Because you almost want to... If someone is looking like they're getting an inevitable win in another region, or a very likely win in another region, you almost want to power them up in your region so that it takes all the supply centers off your rivals and then neutrals, like blackouts them at the end of the... when they win, right?
Exactly, right? You'd love for them to be a powerful ally, even if they're more powerful than you, as long as this isn't the actual region they're going to win.
Mm-hmm. That's a super interesting one. Yeah, because my initial instinct looking at the win condition was that you wouldn't want to propel someone else to victory because they wouldn't be able to do anything for you in return afterwards, right? They're not able to help you after they've disappeared from the board. But I kind of glossed over the idea that them disappearing from the board could be the thing that helps you. So you want to power them up specifically so that they can do that.
Sure. I agree.
I don't know if I love the incentives that creates, but it's certainly interesting and different. I think I need to play it before passing judgment.
Yeah, and as far as the incentives when you're playing for second, right, at least you have to be a little bit smarter about it and a little bit cleaner, as opposed to just being a Care Bear and saying, oh, I have the second most centers, so I win. Like,
yes.
If you let them get too big, you're at least risking straight losing when you're playing for second.
Mm-hmm.
And that's at least somewhat useful, whereas in standard diplomacy, when you play for second, like, you're usually pretty safe.
Yeah, and if you, also you need to make sure that you're in a position that you can win from after they disappear without an ally there to help you, which is a big difference from being able to Care Bear.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Alright. It looks like you were absolutely correct that Mexico takes Mexico City down here. And it looks like Mexico just voluntarily gives up LEC to the Confederacy. I assume in return for this, right? It must be negotiated.
Seems likely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alright. And then as we move south, looks like Spain is just making sure they take NOR. And they support the French into the English fleet here. So England losing that, but gaining this one. And England doesn't gain Cayenne and actually gets their fleet blown up there because Brazil puts everything on that.
Nice. Well done, Brazil. That's important.
Yeah. Making sure that the British do not have too much of a landing point on their continent.
Although, again, this is one of those areas that, as Brazil, I wouldn't care that much about it, because I do think England is going to win pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't want them taking my dots. So.
Yeah. Alright. And as we move a bit further south here... Sorry, Discord said you were typing. Did you need to say something?
No, I was typing.
No, that's totally
nothing important. Yeah. People definitely didn't message me in other games.
All good.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying not to die in every other game that I'm playing, and it's not going too well in most of them.
I'm sure you'll see them on the channel eventually.
Eventually. Oh, God. I'm not looking forward to commentating some of these.
Oh, boy. Alright. Well, anyway, so we do see Colombia lose Panama here, but they actually do manage to keep hold of Cartagena, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. They are still alive. That is kind of the main thing.
Miraculous.
Yeah, I guess down here is still
Yeah, and it's important that we see, I think, Brazil explicitly attack Argentina, though. I don't think. I could be misremembering, but I think this is the first, like, really clear, like, yes, we're fighting now, let's go to war,
I
that we've seen.
think you're correct, yeah, and they're like really brutally attacking Argentina here. I think Argentina loses everything except this dot right here, right?
Brutal. Yeah, I mean, don't NMR it.
Yeah, generally a good idea. Well, notably, they're not NMRing this turn. They did go for
This turn they're not, but
Lima and
things were going fine, then they NMR'd, and then they exploded.
yeah, exactly. And Brazil manages to take this dot as well, so they're going +2. Chile goes +1 off of this, and Peru goes +1. So a nice, relatively even split between the three of them to make that work for them. And you can see Peru just wandering around coring these provinces, right?
Yeah.
Nice
I mean, it's a good thing to do, right? You got time. You want to be able to pump out more fleets bordering Galapagos? I don't know. Seems fine.
And then you're like, hey, Brazil, don't mind me. I'm just going to walk this way to core these provinces too, right?
Yeah, I just got a core LPA.
Alright.
Such a great excuse.
It's like in Imperial, you quite often use coring as like an excuse to hold or something, right? Or you're using holding as an excuse to core is more often the thing. In this one, it's the reverse. You're using, like, you're coring as an excuse to move into places you shouldn't be.
Yeah, the good news is that moving is a much better thing to do than holding.
Yep.
And so, generally speaking, it's doing stuff you kind of want to do anyways.
Absolutely. Alright. Anything else to say about South America here?
I'm curious to see who stabs each other first between Peru and Brazil, because both of them are quite strong in the center, getting a solid number of armies. I think Peru is in the worst position. I think Brazil has it better. Asuncion seems really nice to take, ASU.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. That's my feeling. It could be wrong. They have more armies, right? Brazil's got way more armies than Peru does.
Yeah, notably, like, these armies can be mobilized to the front line very, very quickly now that this English fleet is gone. They can just go straight from Ama to M&S and backfill that from Cayenne. And they've got these two armies that can also move forward at the front line at the same time.
Yeah, but you know what the bigger deal is? The bigger deal is the Portuguese provinces are big, or the Brazilian provinces are bigger, and so it looks stronger, and so that's why I picked them first.
Absolutely. But I mean, also, just there aren't many Peruvian armies, right? That is the... Well, no, actually, they have these.
There's quite a few, man.
Yeah, there's more than I thought. And they're taking an extra dot here, so...
Again, because it looks so small, and so it seems unimposing. But no, they're actually terrifying. Alright, great.
Okay, the one thing we're all agreed on is that Chile isn't the big threat right now, which probably means they are going to end up being the big threat in the end game, right?
Not really. I'm not sure that's true.
Yeah, it is a bit tough to see how they managed to push out of their corner. But they do have the Falklands, which we've established are the most important thing in the game, so...
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's go ahead and over to Europe. So, that's a lot of support. And not much actually happening.
God, reading this map, man, it hurts my eyes.
Okay, so these arrows are all support holds, right? So we can basically ignore all the support holds because none of them did anything, apart from this one.
Germany gets into the North Sea.
That is big.
And France supports that?
France did support Germany into the North Sea, yep. But also took English support into here.
Yeah.
Alright. So this is again one of the things about the different negotiators in different regions, right? Because France actually stabbed England on the previous turn in this theatre, but this England thought it was fine to still work with this France.
Yeah.
And then got stabbed as well. So
Yeah, it looks like Brest is now vacant for another fleet build, one would expect to see.
yeah, you would certainly expect that. I don't know how effective this attack is going to be, but the French and German units together can probably push back the English a fair bit. Like, at least off of this area, right? Man. But again, does it actually matter? Because these units probably turn neutral in the future. Maybe they're trying to cripple England so much that that England isn't able to win in another theatre either.
Yeah.
And of course, as a colonial, that's doubly important because only 2 colonials can win, right? So if England takes one of those slots, you are very close to being eliminated.
Absolutely.
Okay, so other stuff that's happening here. Zurich supports hold Vienna. Austria attempts to support themselves into Vienna. Oh, I guess that wasn't actually going to work anyway because they get cut from the other side. But Austria just gets completely demolished this turn. Italy takes Trieste off them. Italy takes Macedonia. Russia takes Budapest, and Germany is already in Warsaw. So Austria is dead. That looks like it's the first elimination. That's so brutal.
That's tough, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what we said about Italy needing to not misorder, it looks like they achieved their goals pretty well even with the misorder, right?
Yeah, it does, honestly. Like, this is 1 year after the stab.
Mm-hmm.
Although now we see if the classic juggernaut happens where Italy just gets collapsed on by Turkey and Russia.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised the Ottomans didn't just stop for Athens here. Like, it feels very natural to go in and do that now, because Russia is the person who's been rock solid with you all game, right, as the Ottomans, and Italy has been fighting you, and has just proven themselves to not be loyal to their allies, so... yeah.
Yeah.
Italy's position is kind of painful here as well, because all of their fleets are stacked up on this coast. And those fleets are not going to be able to do anything aggressive, because they're fleets and can't move inland.
Exactly. But that's, I mean, maybe there's an argument in favor of the Ottomans not attacking them. Is to say, yeah, they definitely can't attack me. Serbia's not a supply center in this one.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They're just going to work with Russia to kick out Italy next. That's fine.
Alright. Right, so, I guess we should look at what's happening in Spain. So Spain convoys their army back into Madrid, right? And apart from that, it looks like, England's fleets are just support holding each other, and they're putting France into here. So the French are advancing, but Madrid seems relatively safe. Because that's the only army... Oh, no, this is fleet adjacent to it. Okay. So there is some threat on there. But yeah, Spain's
that
in a bad
Madrid
spot.
coastline is tough to see. That's weird.
Yeah.
Plus, we spent too much time in Impotent, where that's not.
Yes. Madrid is very much inland in Imtip. But yeah. So, I think that about covers Europe. Anything else you want to say about that?
It's nice to see that in other variants Austria can exploit too.
Not something that would resonate with you personally at all, I'm sure, right?
Not at all. Not even a little bit. Nope.
Alright, let's look down at Africa. Ezio can't get depressed looking at this one because there are no active games in which he is playing in Africa.
That's true, yes. Honestly, I haven't interacted much with Africa in any of my games of even Impotent.
Whereas my very first one was entirely in Africa, and I never made it out. This is...
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Again, Turkey's having a great game. Got armies down here and is going to be the dominant force. But just it doesn't feel like there's any centers here.
Yeah, it's really tough. They kind of need to take the entirety of it. And they can probably do that over time, but this coast is going to be really hard for them to get to, because there actually aren't all that many land provinces adjacent to some of these, especially that one. Yeah, we'll see what they can do with it, I guess. But yeah, they're certainly the power in Africa at the moment.
Yeah, at least in Northern Africa. But again, like, they're so far from the rest of the centers that... Yeah, whatever.
France manages to dot England here, but England dots France here, so... that works out okay for them. It looks like England managed to successfully predict that France would not go for LEO. And...
but also, why?
Why what?
Why not?
Presumably France was hoping that England would walk out trying to cover it, right?
Oh, I'm insane. Sorry. I missed that was a British unit in ECC.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry, yeah. The color on the background, the wheel is so big, I'm blind. Alright, great. That makes sense.
Yeah. And England manages to take BCA as well, so this French army is kind of isolated now and doesn't have any supply centres that it owns around it. But France still owns this coast, and they own this coast, so there's still some play here for them, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah, anything else you want to say there?
It's Africa, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Accurate.
I don't have much to add about Africa, unfortunately.
Oh, they did it! They did it! The full stab into Kabul that England actually saw coming.
It was so hard to tell that that's what they were doing.
They really should have gone in the spring, as it turned out. Because, like, it's all well and good waiting for the full stab to do something like this, but if you can slip in the spring here, and you'd be able to do stuff on this front at the same time, like, there's no reason to wait for the fall necessarily, right? There wasn't a way that England could have knocked them out.
Yeah, it's like sometimes waiting for the fall telegraphs it too much. And so sometimes you just have to make the move in the spring. And this is one of those cases where, like, you called it as soon as you saw the spring moves. You were like, oh, yeah, they're going to go for Kabul in the fall. And it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. But notably, still nice for China. They managed to get Irkutsk. No, I'm bad at pronouncing stuff. Irkutsk, I think that's pronounced. And they don't lose Hong Kong, which we predicted they might. So that's a positive. And they just get given Pyongyang? It certainly looks...
Good negotiations. Hey, we all have to stop England here. And, like, I can take centers from you, Japan, but it's going to take me a while. So let's go and deal with England.
Yeah.
I guess.
England does manage to push their way back into here. So that is... yeah, they don't actually lose any dots this turn, I think. Man, yeah, they also managed to prevent the Spanish-French alliance from taking anything from them here. That being an army is so painful for the Spanish.
It just looks so worthless.
Well, it's very good at defending these, right? Not better than the fleet would be, but...
Yeah, it's fine at defending. But it can't, like, aggressively tap anything, so it's not even good at defending.
Yeah, and they have not one, but two armies in here. Oh, no. God, if they just had one extra arrow that went this way, or, like, this way, or something, it would be okay. But
Yeah, but it doesn't, and if no, that's just an army that they start with that they like have to convoy onto the Asian mainland, I think.
Or down here, I think, is another option. If they can get a fleet into Bats and convoy it into Perth, then they're probably okay on that front too. But
yeah, that's another good place for it to be.
Yeah, or a fleet in here and convoy it through there into North Australia. But yeah.
Yeah.
They certainly need to relocate these armies, is the point here. They do feel very much like armies on the British mainland, right? In standard diplomacy, where they are very good at covering stuff. But no, they're not, because the whole point of armies being better on the standard British mainland is that the fleets can't move from certain provinces to certain other provinces. And here
But
they
here
can.
they just can.
Yeah. Man, that's so painful.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, anything else you want to mention here?
What else did Japan do this turn other than give Pyongyang?
They took the West Pacific.
Just got West Pacific Ocean back, and they covered to make sure there's no retreats. That can be annoying.
Yeah.
Oh, and they also gave China Irkutsk?
Yes.
Jeez. Okay,
they covered Siberia the turn before, which I'm not sure why they didn't. Maybe it was map painting, and they want to try and get something here, but then they would need to paint these, so I don't think that makes much sense.
Yeah, I don't really get it, but this seems fine. Like it's expensive, right? There were two dots that meant that China gained this phase at the expense of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of them is explicitly I go down one so you can go +1, but also while supporting the mint. I'm not sure if that was agreed. I think Pyongyang might have been a dot.
Maybe. Certainly with this hanging around, I guess I could see. Maybe they had agreed to bounce here or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to make that one dot China. That's scary. But hey, it gets them 2 builds. Maybe they just go all out. I don't know.
Yeah, and they're gonna need them because they are about to have to fight England over here. So that's exciting.
This is true. They can put down an army here, and I guess they have to do an army back here as well. Or something similar. Alright. Yeah. And we've already kind of looked at the moves around Australia. I don't think the exact moves are all that important here. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of 1864. And if we move to the winter, we get the builds. I think this may be where we leave it for part 1, because it's just about to hit 5 a.m. my time.
Yeah. I think this is a good time to call it.
Alright, so we will come back to look at the rest of this game for part 2 of this. But for now, we will leave it here. I hope you've enjoyed 1862. Ezio, do you have any final thoughts for this part?
This is a really cool map. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. I am too. And I'm especially looking forward to seeing how those endgame conditions end up working out all around the board. Especially once certain board leading powers, if they do manage to get ahead so far, once they vanish from the map, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, anyway, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.